Global evolution. I transplanted the heart of the Supreme God. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201 Despicable Stranger. Now, we can go through. The scholar Schroeder said lightly, but the anxiety in his expression was difficult to conceal, which destroyed the elegant demeanor of having everything under control. With your leadership, we will be able to take back the princess and give the intruder an unforgettable punishment. Quang Chen offered a flattering sentence. The group quickly passed through the black vine area and approached the swamp area. The sound of water in the underground river could be faintly heard in front of them. Suddenly, Schroeder's expression changed and he asked in surprise, "What's going on?" The intruder didn't run away. Everyone looked forward, but the light in this ancient passage was dim and they couldn't see the clues clearly. Only Schroeder's mental detection range was large enough to discover it first. Could it be that the princess's lead coffin has been transported away by the abandoned pawn who stayed behind to cover the retreat? Ralph expressed his most worried guess. The princess's lead coffin is still there, and the intruder and his deformed slaves are all there. But I don't know where old Harvey ran off to. Schroeder narrowed his eyes and gave the answer after detection. Could it be a trick? Hidden Snake couldn't help but remind him. Even if the other party is deceiving, we have the great traveler Lord Schroeder. The gap in strength cannot be made up by a little cleverness. Quang Chen said. Since the princess's lead coffin is still there, it will be easy. Ralph rubbed his hands and showed a cruel grin. No matter what conspiracy the invader has prepared, I will make him Endel's food. Endel, the flesh and blood giant wolf under Ralph's crotch, cooperated and growled with bare teeth. In order to prevent the other party from escaping again, I prepared the blood pool confinement magic circle in advance. In order to avoid alerting the enemy, let your soldiers stand by for the time being. I will use mental shielding and bring the three of you closer. Schroeder said after careful thinking. After all, retaking the princess is the top priority, and it is a matter of great importance. Bai Pu and Luce, one on the left and one on the right, stood on the side of the princess's lead coffin, like two stone statues. Neither of them is good at agility. As for the spiritual contest, Bai Pu would not humiliate himself in front of the scholar Schroeder. By the way, Bai Pu knew that Schroeder would come. Dean Harvey told him. Bai Pu just quietly waited for the enemy to appear, as if he wanted to make a final decision. It seems that you have accepted your fate. Amid the low wolf howl, General Ralph appeared with a spear in his hand, and behind him was the scholar Schroeder. Suddenly, not far from Bai Pu's left and right, a black shadow emerged. One was Hidden Snake and the other was Crazy Zen. The two tore open a scroll at the same time, and suddenly several invisible blood-colored dotted lines connected to each other. The light of the magic runes shone, and it actually formed an illusory blood-colored deep pool. You are affected by the blood pool confinement array. You cannot leave the confinement array area within 10 minutes, and you cannot use any space teleportation abilities or props. The priority of this confinement array is 7 priority points. It seems that, as Kin said, the scholar Schroeder should be at the level of an enhanced leader, with a basic 5 priority points, plus the additional 2 priority points of this imprisonment array. Bai Pu silently evaluated. After the blood pool imprisonment array was formed, the scholar Schroeder's expression suddenly relaxed a lot, and the noble elegance appeared on the old man again. He said leisurely, "Intruder, hand over the princess's lead coffin, and I can kindly let you choose a way to die." Bai Pu raised his eyes. "You are so confident that you can leave me. Once the blood pool imprisonment array is formed, it cannot be broken from the inside, unless you have the power of His Majesty the Emperor." Schroeder sneered. "This space has been imprisoned. You can't fly away." "Oh? It can't be broken from the inside. Including you." Bai Pu suddenly smiled maliciously. "Very good. I originally lacked a deformed person at the enhanced leader level as a sample. Now it seems that you can make up for this vacancy." Bold. General Ralph suddenly took off the bow and drew the bow. Bai Pu had seen Ralph's shooting skills long ago. His target was Harvey. After the arrow broke through the air, it did not give the target time to react. However, when Ralph drew his bow and arrow, Bai Pu turned over and hid behind the wide lead coffin of Princess Christina. Even the crazy Rhino Ruse followed suit and hid behind the lead coffin. "Despicable foreigner!" Ralph shouted angrily. But he couldn't really shoot the princess's lead coffin. If you think the princess's lead coffin can keep you alive, you are wrong. Schroeder said calmly, General Ralph's spear stabbing technique is no worse than his shooting technique. I have two strong outsiders besieging me. Even if I am alone, it will not be a big deal to drain your blood. Ralph clamped the giant wolf with his legs, raised his spear, and rushed over suddenly. Hidden Snake and Crazy Zen attacked Bai Pu from the left and right. On the front, Schroeder had already cast blood magic and participated in the siege without caring about his identity. Everyone's target was Bai Pu. Bai Pu laughed, stood up, and kicked off the lid of the lead coffin. The skinny girl with a confused face sat up from the lead coffin. She looked pitiful and harmless, but that was just her appearance. However, the strong curse of the flesh and blood plague evaporated from every breath and every drop of her body fluid. Bai Pu received a reminder from the spirit world again. You have been initially affected by the flesh and blood plague, and will have initial deformation after 300 seconds. Specifically manifested as skin ulceration and muscle fiber rigidity. If your body is deformed, it will affect your job transfer task and increase the failure rate of heart transplantation. Please leave the area of the flesh and blood plague as soon as possible, or avoid direct or indirect contact with the mother of the flesh and blood plague. Your servant Crazy Rhino Loose has been seriously affected by the flesh and blood plague and will have deep deformation after 240 seconds. Specifically, it manifests as losing the control of the curse seal, and the muscles are completely deformed. General Ralph rushed to the front, and the giant wolf under his crotch was the first to be affected by the blood and flesh plague. The giant wolf itself is a deformed beast. After being deeply affected by the blood and flesh plague mother, it mutated immediately. The blood ring curse seal between its eyes was bright red and quickly dissipated. The two front legs expanded rapidly. With a sudden bump, it threw General Ralph, who was sitting on its back, off and bit him. As a deformed beast, the Crazy Rhino Loose was able to hold on for 240 seconds in front of the blood and flesh plague mother because he had a drop of Bai Pu's pure blood in his body. As a deformed beast, the giant wolf had no power to resist. It directly lost the control of the curse seal, became heartless, and violently attacked the targets around it. Despicable outsider! General Ralph shouted in anger and fear. Although he was one of the few qualified people in the blood ring camp, his tolerance to the blood and flesh plague was obviously not too high. Facing the horrible plague matrix, his skin began to turn red, with red spots appearing one after another. His heartbeat also began to accelerate, as if his entire body was itching. He wished he could only feel at ease if he scratched off a layer of skin. Chapter 202 How could you hold on for so long? The scholar Schroeder was a little further away, but he was also affected by the blood and flesh plague. He was a more tolerant qualified person, and he could still hold on for a few tens of seconds. He immediately shouted, "Quick, close the princess's lead coffin." Yinch and Kuangjin, who had not been infected with the blood and flesh plague before, were also initially affected at this time. Their skin was itchy, their bodies were restless, and their heartbeats also accelerated. However, both of them had seen big battles. After confirming that they would be fine for the time being, they immediately rushed to the lead coffin. Crazy Loose stood up, and the ring of shock slammed the ground. A circle of air waves spread out, slowing down Yinch and Kuangjin at the same time. Yinch and Kuangjin attacked Crazy Loose at the same time, but the difference was that Yinch was going all out, while Kuangjin was just playing soy sauce, and was a little absent-minded. The natives did not see this, and even if they saw it, no one could punish him at this time. Because Schroeder was worried about alerting the enemy at the beginning, he asked the soldiers of the Blood Ring Guards to stay in the Black Vine area and wait for orders. As for the scholar Schroeder himself, he was also threatened. Bai Pu held a shield in his left hand and a longsword in his right hand, and rushed directly at him. I can hold on for 5 minutes. Before I am further affected by the plague, I must kill this scholar and cover the lead coffin. I can probably hold on for 2 minutes. Before I am further affected by the plague, I must kill this invader and cover the lead coffin. Bai Pu and Schroeder exchanged glances. Although it was dim here, with the help of the luminous moss around them, both of them could truly feel each other's determination to kill. Schroeder shouted angrily, "Blood extraction." The 5 fingers of his left hand covered Bai Pu from a distance, and his right hand clenched his left wrist. Obviously, this spell has been practiced by Schroeder to the level of doing whatever he wants. When facing a swarm of black beetles, The range can be expanded to form a group attack, and when facing Bai Pu alone, the range can be narrowed to form a more powerful single attack. Bai Pu felt the blood boiling all over his body, and the flow speed suddenly accelerated, and blood spurted out of his ears and nose. You have been damaged by dark magic. Your innate skill, adaptive evolution has stored a new form, Black Rock Body. Bai Pu immediately deleted the negative body that resisted non-attribute magic damage and switched to the Black Rock Body. He immediately felt that his blood flow slowed down by half, and between the muscle membranes, a faint obsidian color was revealed. Originally, Schroederer's blood extraction could absorb 150 points of Bai Pu's health per second, and put Bai Pu in the pain of having his blood sucked away. This was a disguised control effect. But now, the damage caused per second is only about 75 points, and the pain is greatly reduced. Bai Pu is fully capable of carrying the blood extraction, rushing to Schroederer and slashing with a knife. Schroederer actually drew a noble rapier from his waist, and with a clang, he blocked Bai Pu's long sword, and then the rapier stabbed out like a venomous snake, while his left hand cast a magic, blood ripples. Bai Pu had just avoided the stab of the rapier when he was blown away by a powerful force. It turns out that Schroeder is not just a magic enhancement leader. He also has good agility and is quite proficient in one-handed swordsmanship. This should be related to his travels in the European continent. Of course, Schroeder is still mainly based on meditation expertise. His one-handed swordsmanship expertise should be the best among the mages, but compared with the full-time melee enhancement leaders, it is still insufficient. According to Bai Pu's visual estimation, it should be advanced to level 5 to advance level 6. Such one-handed swordsmanship can only ensure that Schroeder will not be hacked to death by assassins after getting close, and will not allow Schroeder to swing his one-handed sword to kill everyone. Bai Pu turned over, the iron spike shoulder guard flashed with blue light, and launched the collision skill to rush in front of Schroeder again. And Schroeder used the new blood magic this time. His right fist suddenly closed, and shouted, "Corrosion blood explosion." The blood that Schroeder absorbed has formed a small sphere, and with the activation of the blood explosion skill, it suddenly exploded. Bai Pu only had time to block the Spider Demon Tower shield in front of him before he was repelled again. Although the Spider Demon Tower shield blocked the explosive impact of this attack, it did not block or reduce the dark attribute magic damage. Bai Pu was hit by this attack, and his health dropped by more than 200 points. In other words, if there was no shield and no Black Rock Body, the mixed damage of this attack would probably be more than 600 points. Any awakener who has no defensive skills and is not a tank profession would probably die on the spot if hit by this attack. The key is that this is a terrible range magic. Of course, such lethality is also because Schroeder relies on his powerful blood magic attainments to control the range of the blood explosion to a very small area, thereby increasing the lethality. It is the same as the bombardment effect of Bai Pu's unstable shield. However, after Bai Pu took this attack, a smile appeared on his face. Because he saw the dawn of victory. The battle has been going on for more than a minute. The scholar Schroeder is finding it increasingly difficult to suppress the deep impact of the blood and flesh plague on himself. The circular spell mark between his eyebrows became brighter and brighter, as if it was on fire, dissipating inch by inch. You know, Scholar Schroeder is the second level of the blood ring pyramid, and the effectiveness of his blood ring curse is almost the strongest among the group. He can't hold on for long, and will fall into a violent state of indiscriminate attack like the bloody giant wolf. How much of a threat can a wizard who loses control of the curse and becomes completely deformed, even if he is a strengthened leader? Just look at Blood Ring General Ralph. He lost control before Schroeder, his body was completely deformed, and he was hugging the bloody deformed giant wolf and biting each other in the most primitive way of a beast. Damn it! How can you hold on for so long in front of the mother of the bloody plague? And your servants too. Scholar Schroeder roared. Schroeder had too many confusions. In addition to the questions he shouted out, he had another question that bothered him. How could the seemingly weak, only level 3, enemy in front of him last so long under the full firepower of his blood magic? Bai Pu certainly had no obligation to answer. Seeing that the blood ring seal on Schroederer's forehead had completely dimmed and his body was shaking violently, Bai Pu suddenly stood up straight. His body was like a solid wall, as if the blood magic bombardment just now had only brushed away the insignificant dust on the wall. Bai Pu put away his long sword and shield and took out the blood mist butcher's chainsaw sword. There are about 3 minutes left. Bai Pu used all his trump cards. The gene fragments merged and the pure blood was injected into himself, increasing the basic strength and basic endurance to the point where he could control this terrible chainsaw sword. The fair size of the giant crocodile, open. The sting of the manticore, open. A+ level props, predatory fury, open. Bai Pu suddenly rushed over and slashed with his sword. The blade vibrated at high speed, making a buzzing sound like a chainsaw. Additional skill, cutting is activated. The next attack damages the target's armor by 30 points and causes severe damage. After all, Schroeder is an enhanced leader with extremely strong mental attributes. Although his body is deformed at this time, he has not completely lost his mind like General Ralph. He just lost the ability to cast blood magic. The remaining thinking ability made him hold the noble sword tightly and attack. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203 Kill and Escape. The noble rapier stabbed at Bai Pu like the wind. Bai Pu had already switched his adaptive evolution to keratin skin, so there was no need to dodge, so he just took it head on. At the same time, the chainsaw sword slashed Schroeder. Schroeder let out a painful roar, and a huge crack appeared on the chest leather armor of the noble hunting suit. Blood was dripping down his chest, and a very long blood mark appeared in an instant. Bai Pu raised the chainsaw sword with his backhand, and the wind-seeking special effect was activated. Schroeder screamed and stepped back to dodge, but Bai Pu's two-handed swordsmanship, which was as high as level 8 at this time, had already crushed him. Not to mention the 30-point speed bonus of the plundering frenzy. The prejudged stride forward, stuck to it like a shadow, and hit with a back-slashing sword, a critical hit. Schroeder staggered. Even if he was an enhanced leader with extra health bonus, he was not known for his endurance after all. After 30 points of armor were destroyed, plus the inherent 30 points of armor penetration of the chainsaw sword, Schroeder's armor could be regarded as a negative value when facing the terrible weapon of the chainsaw sword. There was no damage reduction, only amplification of physical damage received. Bai Pu, who was firing at full power, showed amazing fighting skills. The chainsaw sword ignored the defense of the rapier and hit it frequently. Schroeder's health was also rapidly declining. What's worse, as the pain intensified, Schroeder was gradually unable to stay awake, his body was deformed in many parts, and his footwork became scattered. Hidden Snake shouted angrily, anxious and angry. There was a reason why he couldn't defeat the crazy Rhino Lucius for a long time, because there was a crazy Zen beside him. It seemed that the crazy Zen was fighting side by side with him, but the Hidden Snake knew the details of the crazy Zen, and he didn't know when he would suddenly attack him. So the Hidden Snake actually only used 50% of his strength to deal with Lucius, and the other 50% of his strength was to guard against the crazy Zen. He thought that the scholar Schroeder could quickly get rid of Bai Pu. It was not because he underestimated Bai Pu's tankiness, but because he thought that it would be difficult for Bai Pu to withstand spell damage like physical damage. For various reasons, Yinch did not give his all. Luce's strength was also extraordinary. With the blessing of Bai Pu's Limit Breaker, his combat and two-handed sword skills had reached the advanced level 7, which was better than Yinch's expertise. While concentrating on defending the lead coffin, Luce was really as steady as a mountain. The ring of shocks that came out from time to time made Yinch very annoyed. No matter. If Kwang Zhen wants to sneak attack me, let him do it. I have the magical skill of shadow walking anyway. Yinch had made up his mind and exploded immediately. His figure suddenly flashed and drilled out from behind Luce. Shadow leap. After appearing, Yinch stabbed Luce's back with a short sword, leaving a deep groove on the top of the horn-heavy helmet, and knocked Luce unconscious for a second. Immediately afterwards, Hidden Snake raised a pair of short swords and rushed forward, launching an upward slash, knocking Luce into the air. Behind Hidden Snake, a majestic dragon-shaped phantom flashed and disappeared, and the dragon power technique was activated, increasing the damage of the next attack. At the same time, two blue lights flashed on the surface of Hidden Snake's body, indicating that he had simultaneously activated two equipment skills that increased damage. Spiral cut. Hidden Snake's body suddenly rushed forward, spinning across the air like a gyroscope, and the two swords turned into curled blades like a meat grinder, slamming into Luce's back. The power of this burst was extremely amazing. Luce roared wildly, and his spine and chest were pierced by the sharp blade of the spiral cut. His health was originally only about half, and the 2 minutes of fighting just now had consumed some of it. At this time, a set of skills from Hidden Snake exploded, directly clearing all his health, and he died. Hidden Snake glanced at Quang Zhen, and was a little surprised that Quang Zhen didn't come to stop him. But when he saw Quang Chan taking a defensive stance, Yin Shi suddenly realized and couldn't help but sneer inwardly. It turns out that Quang Chan cherishes his life and is afraid that his burst will hide him and kill him in seconds. In any case, Yin Shi has cleared the obstacles. His skin is festering at this time, and the influence of the blood and flesh plague is already deep. The only person who has not entered the combat state is Princess Christina. Seeing such a fierce battle, and seeing the cruel killing of the Quangzai Luce who stood in front of her, this weak girl couldn't help but feel fear and huddled in the corner with her legs. Don't you know how terrible you are? Yin Shi didn't have time to explain to the princess, and he had no way to explain it, so he just used the short sword to cut it flatly. Of course, the speed was slowed down several times, mainly for threat. Princess Christina was almost scared, and quickly crouched in the lead coffin with her head in her arms. Yin Shi closed the lead coffin with a bang and breathed a sigh of relief. However, he closed it too late after all. Bai Pu's chainsaw sword had already killed the scholar Schroeder. At this time, the effect of Bai Pu's rampage had just passed for more than 10 seconds. With the power to kill the enhanced leader, Bai Pu turned his sword and pointed it at the hidden snake. He activated the flesh and blood armor at the same time. The gravity ball took effect, and the hidden snake's figure was involuntarily pulled towards Bai Pu. The gravity ball will affect the hidden snake's movement speed by about 18 points, and the speed of the hidden snake has been reduced to about 62. Bai Pu's speed at this time is as high as 55 points. This means that he is close to the hidden snake in terms of speed. The hidden snake blocked with both swords, and originally wanted to suppress Bai Pu with the advantage of combat expertise, but when they fought, they found that it was actually himself who was suppressed by combat expertise. His two swords were useless. Bai Pu's seemingly bulky chainsaw sword seemed to pass through the gap between the two swords slowly but quickly, and hit the chest of the hidden snake. The hidden snake staggered back, and Bai Pu stepped forward to attack, and the giant sword was reversed, and the wind-seeking special effect was activated to hit the two swords. Hidden Snake didn't dare to take the damage from this knife again, and immediately started shadow walking. Bai Pu's counter-slashing knife passed through the afterimage in the air, and he fell into a stiff attack. It should be a good opportunity for Hidden Snake to turn defense into offense, but when Hidden Snake saw the body of the scholar Schroeder, he felt cold all over and didn't dare to come out, but fled to the Black Vine area from when he came. The agility of up to 80 points is really not to be underestimated, especially in the shadow world. Temporarily out of the gravity ball deceleration field, Hidden Snake is as fast as the wind, and escaped dozens of meters in a flash, and then his figure appeared and solidified from the shadow world. Fortunately, after the scholar Schroeder lost the ability to cast spells, the blood pool imprisonment array automatically failed, otherwise Hidden Snake might have to explain here. What a powerful combat prop, his agility seems to have increased by 30 or 40 points instantly, and he can actually keep up with my speed. Hidden Snake was shocked and fled without looking back. He had given up the idea of killing Bai Pu directly, and only wanted to rely on the power of the Blood Ring Guards to destroy Bai Pu's job transfer task. Bai Pu did not pursue, nor did he try to use bloody items to restrict Hidden Snake. The reason is very simple. Bai Pu's biggest goal at this time is to change his job. Once the job change is successful and he enters the level of an intermediate awakener, a heroic job like Hidden Snake is nothing to worry about. This is a grand trend. And now chasing, let's not talk about whether we can catch up. Even if we catch up, what's the use of the second stage, Shadow Walk? There was a faint light of fire coming from the back. It was the soldiers of the Blood Ring Guards who were on standby at the place and were rushing over. I don't know if it was an order issued by the scholar Schroeder before he was strangled to death, or an order issued by General Ralph before he became distorted and crazy. This is Stockholm, the capital of the enemy country. There is also a Prime Minister Oxenstierna, who is estimated to be more difficult to deal with than the scholar. Bai Pu has now handed over all his trump cards, but he has no ability to deal with the second enhanced leader, not to mention that this enhanced leader may command the Blood Ring Guards. Chapter 204 I am carrying the future. Even if Bai Pu opened the lead coffin again to limit the blood ring's pursuit, he would definitely not achieve the same effect this time. Because when Bai Pu is affected by the blood plague, the total time of 300 seconds will continue to be calculated from the current cumulative impact progress. In short, the remaining time he can withstand the impact of the blood plague is about 160 seconds. Such a short time is not enough to survive the blood ring's enhanced leader to be distorted and killed. On the contrary, it is very likely that Bai Pu himself will be distorted, affecting the success rate of heart transplantation, which is not worth the loss. Besides, one of the reasons why the effect is so good this time is that the scholar Schroeder trapped himself and constructed the blood pool confinement array to limit his escape range. If there is no such array, Schroeder can temporarily escape, and then rely on blood magic to consume Bai Pu remotely. Once the distance is far, the impact of the blood plague mother body is not so exaggerated, at least the time Schroeder can hold on will be doubled. Bai Pu even imagined the scene of him carrying an open lead coffin and chasing after Schroeder. Fortunately, it didn't happen, otherwise it would waste too much time and it would be impossible to drive away the hidden snake. Perhaps because of the blood ring guards who came, Quang Chen didn't say hello to Bai Pu, just nodded slightly, and fled the battlefield like the hidden snake. Bai Pu directly carried the lead coffin, and then put the body of the scholar Schroeder and the treasure chest he dropped into the storage space. At this time, the crazy blood ring General Ralph had relied on his own attribute advantages to bite the equally crazy flesh-distorted giant wolf all over his body, and it was dying. Bai Pu didn't dare to stay for long, and he didn't think of finishing off the enemy. On the contrary, keeping this crazy general might cause trouble for the blood ring guards who came after him. Bai Pu was standing on a black cliff at this time, with a swamp area below and an underground river in the distance. Bai Pu reached out and took out a prop that looked like an eyeball, gently squeezed it, and suddenly the eyeball prop glowed with a hint of blue light. Facing the blue eyeball, Bai Pu said softly, "My mission is completed, Brother Yinghua. Let go of the rope and be ready to sail at any time." This is an alchemical item produced in this world, called Eye of the Tongue, which is of the same type as the Eye of Saigon that tricked Bai Pu in the past. The difference is that the Eye of Saigon is the most superficial alchemical item, which can only be used at close range and transmits basic information through the principle of inductive shattering. The Eye of the Tongue, given by Master Nale, is much higher in grade. Although it is also a disposable item, it can transmit a few short sentences, and the range is also improved to a certain extent. Yinghua is really reliable, and he deserves to be the one who has reached a unilateral close friend favorability with Bai Pu. Less than a minute after the message was sent, Yinghua's response came from the blue eyeball, "I'm ready at any time, Brother Dio." After the blue eyeball transmitted the message, it broke. Bai Pu took a deep breath, carried the lead coffin on his left arm, and ran hard. At the top of the cliff, Bai Pu jumped with all his strength and grabbed a black vine hanging from the dome with one hand. The vine swung over like a swing. When he rushed forward to the highest point, Bai Pu let go of the vine, grabbed the second black vine from a distance, and swung over again. This Tarzan-like way of flying in the air is undoubtedly the best way to cross the swamp area below. Of course, there is a price to pay, one of which is these hanging black vines, and there are also those terrible black beetles. The beetles bite Bai Pu's skin, and Bai Pu can only open the unstable shield to resist and try to avoid the beetles from affecting himself. If he falls into the swamp area, it will definitely be a big trouble. Another difficulty is that the distribution of black vines is not very dense, especially the last section. The rope that Yinghua put down at the entrance of the cave is hundreds of meters away from the last black vine. Although Bai Pu swung to the farthest distance, it is still about 20 meters away. Bai Pu took a deep breath, used his hands to pull, and launched the wind slash. This was the first time that Bai Pu used the wind slash while suspended in midair. Fortunately, the desperate situation at this time forced out his potential and he succeeded. Carrying the heavy lead coffin in the air, Bai Pu used the flow of wind to turn forward suddenly, as if he had performed a double jump, and finally grabbed the end of the rope. At this time, the crocodile that swam to the underground dark river area was already swimming below, eager to try. Fortunately, Yinghua and others were on top, pulling the rope section by section, and pulled Bai Pu up. Bai Pu took a breath and noticed that his wind slash had actually improved a lot of proficiency and reached advanced level 3. Moreover, based on the characteristics of limit breaker, it is actually regarded as advanced level 4, and enjoys the level 4 special effects in advance. Now it is the process of being pulled up, which seems to take some time. Bai Pu browsed the level 4 special effect options of Wind Slash, and found that there are quite a few rare options, such as increasing the falling attack range, increasing the jumping distance and jumping height of Wind Slash, etc. But what really moved Bai Pu was the last option. F. Protective Wind. During the jump of Wind Walk, a protective wind will be generated around you, reducing the intensity of damage received and making you immune to control skills. Currently, Wind Walk integrates the effects of 2 stages of displacement and knockback control, which has made Bai Pu quite satisfied. If there is a disadvantage, it is that walking on the wind looks handsome and fast, but it is inevitable to become a sitting duck. If you encounter an opponent with high meditation expertise, it is very likely that you will be intercepted by a control skill. After selecting the special effect of Protective Wind, Bai Pu will be immune to control during Wind Walk. The additional priority of this skill should be 2 points. Usually the priority of a 2-star skill is like this. Counting Bai Pu's basic priority of 3 points at this time, he can be immune to control with a priority of less than 5 points. It seems a little low now, but if Bai Pu successfully changes his job, the basic priority will increase again. At that time, he will be immune to the control skills of many hero professions, which will be very useful. After choosing the special effect, Bai Pu had a flash of enlightenment in his mind, which was the use of the fierce power of wind. He instantly understood how to generate an unbreakable strong wind to protect his body when walking on the wind. The vision in front of him changed, and Bai Pu had been pulled to the entrance of the cave. He turned over and jumped out of the cave, looking at the thick fog around him and the afterimage of a red sun rising in the east. He recalled the experience of exploring the ancient passage all night, and had the illusion of being reborn. "Has Mr. Harvey arrived?" Bai Pu asked out of humanitarian concern. "He has been resting on the boat and suffered a lot. A large piece of skin on his hand has fallen off," Yinghua replied. When Bai Pu and Luce stayed with the lead coffin and fought a desperate battle, Bai Pu let Harvey slip away in advance. Relying on the existence of the breath-retaining potion and other alchemical products, Harvey crossed the swamp area without any danger. However, when he was pulled up by the rope in the last step, Harvey's strength was too weak and his shoulder was injured by an arrow. He had to use a bottle of strong glue to stick his palm and the rope together, and then he escaped. The reason why Harvey could carry so many things was, of course, because he had an alchemical storage device. Just like Jean's necklace, it could store quite a lot of items. The effect of the storage device was the same as the storage space of the awakened. "Brother Dio, what are you carrying?" Yinghua wanted to touch the lead coffin curiously. Bai Pu smiled and said, "I'm carrying the future." Chapter 205. I will help you complete the last step. Horseshoe Island. Noel's Alchemy Workshop. Bai Pu met Noel. Now Prime Minister Oxenstierna has declared martial law in the whole city of Stockholm. The Blood Ring fleet is cruising in the eastern Baltic Sea, strictly inspecting all passing ships. You can't leave. Especially the princess's lead coffin, which is too big a target. And because the princess is a living person, she can't be put into the storage space at all. Bai Pu had expected this, and he rested here with peace of mind. During this period, Kwang Chen contacted Bai Pu and asked him about the progress of his job transfer task. Bai Pu told him the truth. Now the Blood Ring fleet is frantically searching for his whereabouts. Fortunately, the underground workshop is relatively hidden, and there are as many as 24,000 islands in the eastern waters of Stockholm. Under the command of Prime Minister Oxenstierna, the Blood Ring fleet has found the Misty Island. But it will definitely not be possible to search the Horseshoe Island where they are in a short time, especially because Bai Pu asked Yinghua to sink the warship and leave no possible clues. After a period of rest, Bai Pu waited for an important person, Qin. Qin's appearance made Bai Pu slightly relieved. At that time, the coordinates of Horseshoe Island were sent to Qin. Bai Pu knew that Qin would overcome all difficulties and arrive as promised. But only when he really saw Qin could Bai Pu's heart be completely settled. You know, Qin was the only one who mastered the 2 existing samples, Blood Mist Butcher and Scarlet Wings samples, and conducted in-depth research. Although now with the addition of Harvey and Nale, Bai Pu has exceeded the 3rd option of the job transfer task, but without Qin, it is estimated that the completion rate brought by these 2 hastily joined alchemy masters will definitely not reach 10%. Here it means that the 2 alchemy masters added together are less than 10%. Now with Qin's leadership, Any one of the two alchemy masters can bring 10% completion. This is the difference. Qin saw the lead coffin, opened it to confirm it first, and saw the sleeping girl inside. Tears fell. Because of the influence of the flesh plague, Qin restrained her emotions and quickly covered the lead coffin. Dio, now we have 2 corpses of the first generation of aberrants. On the battlefield, I also specially asked the Duke to collect a corpse of a blood ring general, and finally we can get 3 samples. Qin also knew that her tears just now had ruined the atmosphere, so she changed the subject and said with a smile, "What, it's worth a kiss, right? Qin really deserves to be at the admiration level of devotion." She always thinks about Bai Pu and even helps Bai Pu with part of the job transfer task. Of course, if Bai Pu uses this part of her contribution, it will definitely lower the evaluation of his job transfer task. And a corpse of a blood ring general is not enough to provide 10% completion. Bai Pu sighed, without keeping it a secret or asking for credit, and directly took out the body of the scholar Schroederer from the storage space. "Good guy, such a strong fluctuation of the flesh plague. Did you go to Bergen and kill the Archduke?" Qin was shocked. "I don't know the art of clones." Bai Pu shook his head and said, "If you look carefully, you should recognize him. Schroederer's body has been deformed, but fortunately his face has not changed much." Combined with the tattered hunting suit, Qin finally confirmed it. "This is Gustav's teacher, the scholar Schroederer." Qin exclaimed, "Dio, you can actually kill him. I am ashamed, I didn't kill him head-on with my hard power, but with the help of Her Royal Highness the Princess." Bai Pu briefly described the battle process. "I see. But you are already amazing." Qin could imagine the brutal battle that Bai Pu had experienced. It was with his own vitality that he forcibly consumed Schroederer's blood magic bombardment. "Can this body replace the sample of Grand Duke Bergen?" Bai Pu asked the question he was most concerned about. "From the quality of the sample, there is no problem." Qin said, "After all, Schroederer and Grand Duke Bergen are deformed people of the same level." But what? Bai Pu was most afraid of this kind of turn. "But Schroederer has experienced the control of the blood ring curse after all, and has some shortcomings compared to wild specimens." Qin smiled, "Of course you don't have to worry. Here are Mr. Harvey, Master Nale, and me. The wisdom of the 3 of us is enough to make up for the gap in this sample." After a pause, Qin asked, "Dio, are you sure you want to perform a heart transplant here? The operation will last 1 to 2 hours. As the main surgeon, I cannot be disturbed by the outside world, otherwise it will affect the success rate of the transplant." "I'm sure. Now all the elements are ready and we can't delay any longer." Bai Pu knew Qin's thoughts. Now the blood ring's rear has been fully mobilized, and the fleet has blocked the sea routes. We can't go back and transplant slowly. After the heart transplant, Princess Christina is no longer the mother of the plague. Bai Pu's strength will inevitably increase after his job change, and as the owner of the original heart, facing the blood ring soldiers, he will even suppress and control them in terms of rank. Qin was also very decisive. After confirming Bai Pu's idea, he started the heart transplant operation with Nale and Harvey. The heart transplant surgery required opening Bai Pu's chest. During this process, Bai Pu could not move and had to remain still. Qin asked Bai Pu for his opinion and adopted a semi-anesthetized mode. After Bai Pu drank a bowl of alchemy potion, he lost consciousness below the head, but his hands and feet could still move. Beep, the prop walkie-talkie from Quang Chan in Bai Pu's storage space sounded. Bai Pu took out the walkie-talkie. He looked at the walkie-talkie, hesitated for a while, and then pressed the call button. After the hissing sound of electricity, Quang Chan's voice sounded, "Gang Xin, your job transfer task progress should be complete, right?" "Yes." Bai Pu had nothing to hide on this point. "Are you doing the last step of the job transfer task?" Quang Chan asked, "Is it the heart transplant?" It was not surprising that Quang Chan could guess that the last step was a heart transplant. After all, Bai Pu had already known that he had seized the original heart tissue from the demon abyss and had gone deep into the Royal Alchemy Academy to seize another piece of heart tissue. "Yes," Bai Pu said. "You have to be careful. It seems that the Blood Ring fleet has found your coordinates and is moving in your direction. It seems that there is some kind of alchemical tool for positioning hidden in the princess's lead coffin." Quang Chan said with concern, "I will help you complete the last step." "Where are you?" Chapter 206. Why do you doubt me? I'm on Horseshoe Island. The coordinates are. Bai Pu seemed to have made up his mind and reported his location right away. Okay, don't worry, continue with the transplant surgery. I'm nearby and will be there soon. There was a hint of excitement in Kwang Chan's voice. Qin gave him a questioning look. Bai Pu smiled and shook his head. It's okay. 10 minutes later, a blood ring warship arrived at Horseshoe Island. Kwang Chan jumped off the warship first, followed by a group of people. Among this group of people, there were pirates, sailors, farmers, blacksmiths, basically all natives of Stockholm. There were ordinary templates and a small number of elite templates. Their identities were different, and the only thing in common was that the eyes they looked at Kwang Chan were full of fanatical admiration. "Where is Steelheart?" asked Kwang Chan. 2 expeditionary soldiers under Yingwei came forward. Lord Dio said that he is now at the critical moment of the operation. Please help defend the island and don't enter the operating room. Kwang Chan nodded. That makes sense. When he nodded, he suddenly grabbed with both hands and grabbed the throat of an expeditionary soldier. Then he exerted force and threw him to the stone ground. 2 pirates rushed up and wanted to kill the 2 expeditionary soldiers. But Kwang Chan stopped them. This was not Kwang Chan's kindness to spare the lives of the 2 expeditionary soldiers. But Kwang Chan wanted to kill these 2 people with his own hands, although these 2 people would only bring Kwang Chan sporadic spiritual energy points. In Kwang Chan's mind, no matter how small the mosquito legs are, they are still meat, and more than a dozen spiritual energy points are better than less than a dozen spiritual energy points. After killing the 2 expeditionary soldiers, Kwang Chan laughed. "Gang Xin, where are you? Listen to me, the water of the origin heart is too deep, you can't grasp it, let me do it." There was silence all around. Kwang Chan said with a triumphant tone, laughing loudly, "It doesn't matter if you don't tell me. This island is so small. The only place you can hide is underground. I can find you soon." The believers behind Kwang Chan rushed to the Horseshoe Island and searched in an orderly manner. They were looking for the entrance to the underground operating room. "Kwang Chan, you are finally not hiding anymore." Bai Pu's voice rang out, "You have really helped me a lot these days. I don't want to see this happen today, but unfortunately you leave me no choice. Don't act like you have everything under control, are you pretending?" Kwang Chan sneered, "If you doubt me, how could you tell me the coordinates?" "The reason is very simple, you already knew my coordinates." Bai Pu said lightly, "The walkie-talkie prop you gave me can monitor my location, right? You already knew it the day I arrived in Stockholm. The reason you asked me about my coordinates is not because you need it, but to test whether I have any doubts about you." Kwang Chan's face changed, and he took out his somewhat dim walkie-talkie, then glanced at a middle-aged awakener behind him. "Helium, what's going on?" The middle-aged awakener was codenamed Helion, and he said in surprise, "Gang Xin can't discover the existence of the hidden beacon, because the priority of the hidden beacon is 10 points, which is a rune passed down from the world of evolvers." Kwang Chan sneered, "Gang Xin, are you kidding me? Can you find the hidden beacon with priority 10? Bai Pu's voice sounded again, "I don't know what hidden beacon is. I just made a normal guess based on my suspicion of you. Why do you doubt me? Am I not playing the role of a sincere ally?" Kwang Chan's followers have found the metal pillar hidden in the rubble, and started to dig violently under the ground with the metal pillar as the center of the circle. At this point, Kwang Chan is not in a hurry. Bai Pu also seems to be willing to chat with him, and answered leisurely, "All this comes from the understanding of your character. Kwang Chan, you are the kind of person who is particularly greedy for small gains. When the Hidden Snake team fought against the Scarlet Wings, you were very enthusiastic about the bloody treasure chests of several low-level awakeners of the Hidden Snake team, and didn't mind the increase in your blood value at all. I don't reject your greed. But you actually rejected the temptation of the front battlefield of the world event, just to help me complete the job transfer. To be honest, this spirit of selfless dedication is completely inconsistent with your previous personality tendencies. From that day on, I became more vigilant against you. Like Blood Spider, staying in the front battlefield to brush up military merits is the most normal choice for an awakener. If Blood Spider insisted on not brushing up military merits, leaving the clues of the job transfer task unfinished, and had to come to Stockholm to help Bai Pu with the job transfer task, Bai Pu would also be suspicious. Because this deviates from human nature. The fact that Kwang Chan gave up the front battlefield at that time can only mean one thing: he can get more benefits than the front battlefield by staying in Stockholm. You must know that Bai Pu had promised that as long as Kwang Chan planned a rebellion of the camp and tricked a high-level person like Marshal Horn, he could persuade him to ensure that the expeditionary camp would accept him. Even if he couldn't trick Marshal Horn, it shouldn't be a big problem to trick a well-organized Blood Ring unit and cooperate with the expeditionary army to kill a group of Blood Ring generals. The amount of military merit obtained in such a time must be astonishingly high. Not to mention the rich treasure chest income. But in the face of such rich income, Quang Chen insisted on refusing. Bai Pu thought about it, and there was probably only one more lucrative benefit that Quang Chen could get by staying in Stockholm: the living tissue of the original heart, and 2 pieces. Bai Pu remembered that Quang Chen said that the original heart tissue seized by the Superstar Alliance originally belonged to the Jiangnan Su family. This shows that the Jiangnan Su family may have a way to use the original heart tissue. As long as Quang Chen gets the original heart tissue, he can either greatly improve his own strength or greatly improve the family heritage. In short, it is a higher income than the world event. Of course, there are other evidences in the follow-up. For example, Bai Pu sneaked into the Royal Alchemy Academy. Although the plan had been told to Quang Chen, the specific time of action was not mentioned. Quang Chen did not appear at the beginning, but later appeared in the team that was pursued by the Blood Ring. For example, in the ancient passage, when the hidden snake broke out and killed loose, Quang Chen could obviously contain it from the side, but he stood by and let loose sacrifice in vain. If Bai Pu believed in Quang Chen, he could find all kinds of reasons for him. But when Bai Pu was wary of Quang Chen, all these unreasonable things were magnified. Before Bai Pu entered the world of blood plague distortion, he signed a contract with Quang Chen. Quang Chen helped him pass the test of the job transfer task, and he would help Quang Chen's brother Su Shiji treat cancer. The problem is that this is a transaction contract. The price of Quang Chen tearing up the contract is just the breakdown of the transaction. Bai Pu will not help Su Shiji treat cancer. The spirit world is so big, and it is not just one blood alchemy that can save Su Shiji. Even in the field of blood alchemy, in addition to Qin, there are still many other masters of blood alchemy. It can be said that Quang Chen has no loss. So after signing this contract, Bai Pu did not completely trust Quang Chen. This is also related to his experience since childhood. For this world that once hurt him, Bai Pu has always been wary and has never completely trusted anyone. As Quang Chen listened to Bai Pu expressing his doubts word by word, his expression gradually became gloomy, and the uneasiness in his heart slowly grew. Chapter 207 Wherever Our Swords Point. We found the entrance. Suddenly, Helium, a teammate beside Quang Chen, cheered. An arched bunker portal was dug out from the top. A group of Quang Chen's followers swarmed up and used various tools to dig a large pit downwards, completely digging out the bunker portal. However, when the bunker portal was violently dug out, the ground on both sides suddenly opened up, and 2 tall alchemical giants rose from the ground. The arms of the alchemical giants were welded with thick spears on one end and sharp knife wheels on the other end. The knife wheel on the right arm rolled and cut out horizontally. Suddenly, the stomachs of several Quang Chen's followers were cut open, and their organs were scattered all over the ground amid screams. A pirate follower rolled over and approached, slashing one of the alchemical giants at the ankle joint with a knife, but was suddenly pierced by the alchemical giant's left arm spear, and the blue-black spear tip went straight through the body. So that's how it is. Your last resort is these 2 enhanced elite-level alchemical colossi. The uneasiness in Quang Chen's heart disappeared, and he sneered, "Gang Xin, you made a mistake. After all, the alchemical colossi are just mechanical creations, and they are only slightly more resistant to swords. My Azure Dragon Killing Fist is their nemesis." In the basement operating room of Nale's alchemical workshop. "You seem to talk a lot today, Dio." Qin was performing the transplant operation in an orderly manner, and smiled and said, "This is not like you. In my impression, you are not a male peacock who likes to show off your beautiful feathers." Bai Pu sighed and said softly, "I told him so much just to delay time. What I really fear is not him, but the Blood Ring's hunting army. As long as he's lucky and thinks he can take 2 hearts from me, he will not inform the Blood Ring army of the location here. And when his hope is shattered, in order to avoid having a strong enemy like me in the future, he will definitely choose to break up and ask the Blood Ring army to go here." Master Nale heard the noise coming from outside the door, sighed and said, "If you have any backup plan, use it quickly. They have found the portal, and my 2 alchemical colossi can't stop them for long. Don't worry, Master Nale. Dio has made preparations." Qin was not nervous. She turned and asked, "Dio, There are 3 blending liquids here, from Scholar Schroederer, Blood Mist Butcher and Scarlet Wings. Which blending liquid do you plan to use as the main one? It's obvious that Schroederer is a spirit specialized type, Blood Mist Butcher is a strength specialized type, and Scarlet Wing is an agility specialized type. Bai Pu's job change this time will allow him to add an attribute specialty, becoming a dual attribute specialty profession. If he doesn't get the original heart tissue from Princess Christina, he will definitely not be able to get the dual attribute specialty. He can only continue to advance in endurance expertise and become a tank type enhanced elite or hero profession. Although it is also a career template that many awakeners desire, it is definitely not qualified for Bai Pu. I choose Blood Mist Butcher. Bai Pu had thought about it a long time ago. Because his current basic attributes are endurance, which is the highest, and strength, which is the second. It is better to continue to invest in strength and become a profession with both strength and endurance. Moreover, Bai Pu's current main combat expertise, two-handed swordsmanship, also requires a high amount of strength to be fully utilized. As for the other 2 attributes, agility and spirit, of course, are also very important, but they can only be considered in the future when they are transferred to a more powerful career template. Kwang Chan went all out as soon as he got started, and the dragon roars rang out one after another. Punch after punch, the fierce fists bombarded the joints of the alchemical colossus, and soon the 2 alchemical colossi stopped moving. The price paid by Kwang Chan was only the lives of a dozen believers. These dozen believers were the fanatics who were most brainwashed by Kwang Chan. They really saw death as their home, regardless of their weak bodies, and rushed up to hug the alchemical colossus's legs, pulleys, and even the weapons on the left and right arms. It created an opportunity for the Kwang Chan team to output. Finally, the last obstacle has been solved. A hint of fanaticism flashed across Kwang Chan's face. Now is the time when Steelheart is the weakest. He cannot move during the operation, and the alchemist master who helps him with the operation cannot make any movements. After seizing the 2 pieces of original heart tissue, the 2 flesh and blood inherited from the family can regain the source of power. The revival of the family is just around the corner. The 2 teammates also looked excited. They were also members of the Jiangnan Su family, and they were proud of it. Suddenly, a pirate in charge of lookouts shouted, "Ship! A ship is coming, and there is a blood ring mark on it. How is it possible?" Kwang Chan was surprised. "I didn't notify them. The blood ring fleet can't get the coordinates of this island." Whoosh! An arrow shot out and went straight through the pirate lookout's monocular telescope. The residual power of the arrow even pierced through the pirate lookout's eyes, and the sharp triangular arrowhead pierced through the back of his head. From the sound of the bowstring to the arrow killing someone, it only took a blink of an eye. Kwang Chan was shocked. This was enough to show that the archer was very powerful, almost as good as the archery skills of Ralph, the blood ring general riding a giant wolf. But Ralph was deeply infected by the blood and flesh plague, and was still in a state of madness. He needed Marshal Horn to return to restore the blood ring curse. It was impossible to get here now. Kwang Chan and 2 teammates hurriedly hid, but his believers were fearless and continued to attack the bunker gate. The sound of Duato's arrows breaking through the air continued, and one by one the believers who attacked the gate were shot to death. Soon, the ship docked, and a team of knights in blood ring armor landed on Horseshoe Island. Among the 2 leading people, there was a female knight with ocean blue curly hair, and that was Yvette. Next to Yvette, the leader of this group of knights was a middle-aged man with thin cheeks and pale face. "Who are you?" Kwang Chan found that he had never seen this group of people before. "I am the Guardian Knight, Garwain. I am responsible for protecting Queen Eleonora." The thin man put down his bow and drew his knight's sword. "We are under the order of the Queen to protect this bunker. Please leave immediately." The Queen's Guardian Knight. Kwang Chan then remembered that there was a queen with a very weak presence in the Blood Ring Fortress. These people should be the Queen's Guardian Knights. Although they don't seem to be many, they are all elite, especially the leader Garwain, who is very powerful and cannot be resisted by this mob. The enemy who hijacked the princess's lead coffin is in this bunker. Are you going to betray His Majesty the Emperor? Which is more important, the Queen's order or the Emperor's order? Kwang Chan roared. Kwang Chan thought he had seized an opportunity, but he didn't expect Gawain to not hesitate at all. For us, the Queen's order is naturally more important. She is our mistress, and her will is the direction of our swords. Chapter 208, Your backstab has a precedent. Kwang Chan then remembered that the blood ring seal was a pyramid structure, with each ring linked from top to bottom. Emperor Gustav ruled over Prime Minister Oxenstierna, Marshal Horn, Scholar Schroederer, and several trusted generals of the Blood Ring Guard. The Blood Ring generals fighting outside were commanded by Marshal Horn. Each Blood Ring general controlled the seals of a group of Blood Ring elite leaders, such as heavy hammer warriors, heavy sword warriors, heavy cavalry, etc. And each Blood Ring elite soldier controlled the command authority of the lower-level Dead Plague. This posed a problem. When one of the Blood Ring high-level officials betrayed the Blood Ring fortress, the group of Blood Ring middle and lower-level people he ruled would follow and betray without hesitation. But this is unreasonable. The Queen belongs to the Blood Ring high-level officials, and she should also be ruled by the Emperor's seal. How could she issue an order that violates the Blood Ring Emperor and ask you to protect this island? Quang Chen shouted. Suddenly, Bai Pu's clear voice came from the gate of the bunker. I have obtained the consent of the person concerned for this question, and I can help you answer it. Hurry up. Quang Chen has lost his usual patience. The alchemist who is helping me transplant my heart is named Qin, you should know, right? Her real identity is actually the eldest princess of Brandenburg, who married into the Swedish royal family and became the queen more than 10 years ago. Of course, she is also the nominal mistress of the Blood Ring Fortress. Bai Pu's voice was neither hurried nor slow, and quite clear. You are still wondering why Qin can get rid of the shackles of the Blood Ringers. The reason is very simple. Qin is a qualified person, not a deformed person. She has never been bound by the Blood Ringers. By the way, the Blood Ring curse was developed by a team of blood alchemists led by Qin. Qin has been looking for a qualified person to help her daughter, Princess Christina, escape the fate of the Blood Plague Mother. For this reason, Qin secretly left the Blood Ring Fortress, leaving behind her personal maid, wearing the Queen's clothes and pretending to be the Queen. The face-conscious Emperor Gustav, in order to avoid the disclosure of the royal scandal, pinched his nose and acquiesced to this. Emperor Gustav's ambition was to conquer the world and did not care about the love affairs of men and women. He simply marginalized the knights of the Queen's lineage. I have been thinking about the worst-case scenario, which is your backstab. I have to say that your backstab has precedence. You backstabbed Xiao Zhang in the scene of Red Cliff and Three Kingdoms, backstabbed Blood Ring in this world, and attacked Overlord in the Signa area. In this way, I have to guard against backstabs. So when I sneaked into the Royal Alchemy Academy, which was also the Blood Ring Palace, I asked Ms. Yvette to take in secret order and find the Guardian Knight Mr. Gawain. You know what happened next. When Bai Pu listed a series of backstabbing behaviors of Quang Chan's face turned pale and blue, and he couldn't help but shout, "Shut up. It's okay in the Three Kingdoms world, but in this world, whether I join the Blood Ring to help you pass on information, or sneak attack the Overlord to help you solve your opponent, I am helping you. You are the least qualified person to accuse me of backstabbing." You're right. This is also the reason why I am willing to speak up to help you solve your doubts. After all, my consistent principle is equal exchange. Bai Pu's calm voice came through the bunker door. Quang Chen narrowed his eyes and calmed down. He said slowly, "Steelheart, don't be too proud. Now, I can still break up and directly pass the location of this island to Blood Ring. You don't need to pass it on anymore." Bai Pu said lightly, "Your ship and Mr. Gawain's ship have successively sailed to this island. The people of Blood Ring are not fools. Prime Minister Oxenstierna is known as the wisest politician in Europe in the 17th century. He personally led the fleet to search, and his efficiency was beyond imagination. With such an obvious clue, the Prime Minister may already be on the way to find it." Quang Chan's face changed slightly. After careful thinking, he felt that Bai Pu was more reasonable. He said no more, led his men to retreat directly, and drove the warship to greet them. Gawain did not stop him. His duty was to guard the island. He would not do anything extra before a new order came down. Not long after, a line of sails appeared on the southern coast. Then, one Blood Ring warship after another appeared on the sea level. The Prime Minister of the Blood Ring Empire, Duke Axel Oxenstierna, stood at the bow of the flagship. This is an old man in his 50s, wearing a black round hat, a simple white collar and black robe, and a thick gray beard. Although he is dressed simply, he has a kind of wisdom and majesty that cannot be ignored. No matter where he is, such a person will be the center and focus of the crowd. This is a natural politician. The three members of Yinch's Dragon Snake squad stood beside him. Yinch tried hard to remind the Prime Minister not to be like the scholar Schroederer, who was infected and influenced by Bai Pu using the princess, the mother of the flesh and blood plague, and lost his life in vain. You are right. I have taken precautions. Prime Minister Oxenshurna said gently, don't worry. I have also participated in the research on the princess and know how to avoid deep infection of the plague. Poor Mr. Schroederer, if he had worn a lead wire protective suit, the result would not be what it is now. A Blood Ring general asked for orders. We have discovered Horseshoe Island. Should we launch an artillery attack? No, we will land directly and use swords to take back the princess's lead coffin. Prime Minister Oxenshurna stopped the artillery attack. After all, the lead coffin was still on the island. If it was damaged, it would be very troublesome. If the princess was injured or even died, it would be even more troublesome. Quang Chan led a Blood Ring warship to meet them. Prime Minister. The enemy who hijacked the princess's lead coffin is hiding in the basement of the Horseshoe Island in front. Quang Chan shouted from a distance, the enemy is protected by the Queen's guardian knights. It's the Queen. Prime Minister Oxenshurna gently corrected, now it's not the era of the Kingdom of Sweden, it's the era of the Blood Ring Empire. Yinch asked coldly, since you know this place, why didn't you report it to the Prime Minister at the beginning? Prime Minister Oxenshurna waved his hand and said, now is not the time to worry about this matter. Who is more loyal will show it in the next battle to take back the princess's lead coffin. In fact, Oxenshurna regarded Quang Chan's behavior as stealing credit and did not blame him during the battle. However, the Prime Minister's favorability towards Quang Chan has dropped significantly, but he is very well-mannered and did not show it. Quang Chan certainly knows this, but his goal has been achieved. As long as he uses the power of the indigenous people to solve the Queen's guardian knights, Quang Chan still has a chance to take advantage of the situation and seize the heart tissue. The Blood Ring warships landed on the island, and teams of Blood Ring elite soldiers, led by 2 Blood Ring generals, landed. The Queen's guardian knights launched an attack immediately, regardless of the huge gap in strength. Facing the death fight between Gawain and other guardian knights, Oxenshurna did not delay. He ordered the 2 Blood Ring generals to lead a group of elite guards to divide and surround the guardian knights, making it impossible for them to continue to protect the bunker gate. And the already untrusted Quang Chan was also sent to deal with the guardian knight Gawain. Only the Hidden Snake squad followed Oxenshurna to the bunker gate. Chapter 209 Please don't disturb my master's hunting. Hidden Snake received the order and went straight forward to break open the bunker door. The loyal guardian knight Gawain, despite the attack of a Blood Ring general, rushed to the bunker door to serve as the last line of defense. Hidden Snake's eyes were full of anger. Taking advantage of the gap when Gawain hurried over and had no time to defend, he suddenly rushed up and hit Gawain high with an upward spin, and then directly cut in a spiral. Gawain had rich combat experience. Before being knocked away, he tried his best to protect his heart with his arm shield. In order to avoid the arm shield, the landing point of Hidden Snake's spiral cut was slightly tilted downward and hit the abdomen. Chi. The friction sound of flesh being cut was heard, and a deep wound was cut on Gawain's abdomen, and blood spurted out. Bang! With a muffled sound, Gawain's bloody body crashed into the bunker door, and then slowly slid down, leaving a shocking blood mark on the door. It's too ugly, Gawain. Oxenshurna waved his hand, and a fierce blood-red whirlwind swept through, wrapping up Gawain's body and throwing him high into the air. Then he waved his hand again, and the powerful whirlwind hit the bunker door and knocked it open. Hidden Snake was impatient and rushed in at the first opportunity. At the same time, a green shadow rushed in with a dragon roar. It was Quang Chan. It turned out that after Gawain broke through the encirclement, he had the opportunity to paddle on the edge of the battlefield, looking for an opportunity to rush into the bunker first. However, a dull thunder sounded in the bunker. Hidden Snake and Quang Chan fled out at a faster speed than when they left. Their faces were filled with a trace of surprise. Trample, tramp, tramp. The dull footsteps sounded steadily and firmly, as if stepping on everyone's heart. Even Prime Minister Oxenshurna showed a look of surprise. The blood-red whirlwind surrounded him, forming an invisible protection. A tall figure walked out of the bunker slowly. Armor in the shape of golden horns. A chainsaw blade covered with serrations. A blood-red cloak like a ferocious bird with its wings spread. It was Bai Pu who had successfully changed his job. Quang Chan and Yin Shi felt something different at the same time, because they had dealt with Bai Pu before his job changed more than once. If the previous Bai Pu was a solid wall, with a strong defense that made people grit their teeth but helpless, and its own offensiveness was insufficient. Then the current Bai Pu, when standing quietly, reminds people of the rolling mountains for no reason, lofty, majestic, deeply rooted in the earth. Even thunder and rainstorms can't shake him at all. When Bai Pu walked over slowly, it was another scene, like a magnificent mountain pressing down, with a suffocating sense of oppression. Helion behind Quang Chan immediately used the detection skill. Steel Heart, Enhanced Hero Level 5, Gene Fusion State Source Blood Injection State, Race, Humanoid Human, Profession, Blood River Tyrant, Attributes, Strength 76, Agility 50, Endurance, Spirit 32, Skills, Professional Skills, Windwalker, Unstable Shield, Spin Throw, Enhanced Hero Profession. Helion shouted, Yao Zun, it's impossible, retreat quickly. Quang Chan hesitated, but saw Bai Pu had raised his hand and pointed at Yin Snake from a distance. A line of blood light locked Yin Snake. Quang Chan was very familiar with this line of blood light, which was clearly the bloody item, Battle Shackles. Why would he use Battle Shackles on Yin Snake? Quang Chan was a little confused. Battle Shackles only last for 1 minute. The same awakener cannot be designated by bloody items continuously, which means that Bai Pu only limits Yin Snake's escape from this world for 1 minute. Yin Snake is a hero profession, Phantom Dragon Fang. He has the magical skill of shadow walking, and can use it twice in a row within 180 seconds. He is a top-notch escapee. No matter what, Bai Pu can't kill Yinch in 1 minute, right? After Yinch was stunned, he sneered, ridiculous. Even if you successfully change your job and become stronger, you can't kill me in just 1 minute. Bai Pu remained silent and didn't respond, but strode towards Yinch. Prime Minister Oxenshurna suddenly clasped his hands together, and a strong blood-colored tornado roared towards Bai Pu. You are a little arrogant, outsider. Bo. A bottle fell on the ground in front of Oxenshurna, and thick black fog rose. Oxenshurna's face changed, and he immediately waved his hand, and the blood-colored tornado returned to defend itself, controlling the black fog at the periphery without being contaminated. But the Blood Ring Guard soldier next to the Prime Minister was not so strong. After inhaling a breath of black mist, his eyes bulged out immediately, his hands pinched his throat desperately, and his face quickly turned purple. Qin's laughter sounded, Prime Minister, long time no see. Please don't disturb my master's hunting, okay? Eleonora. Prime Minister Oxenshurna's face suddenly changed. You are the queen of the Blood Ring Empire, and you actually degenerate and call this lowly outsider master? Your behavior will bring shame to the entire empire. I haven't used this name for a long time. Qin walked out and came to Bai Pu. A black robe still couldn't hide her charm. Every move she made exuded the fatal temptation of a mature woman. But such a plump and tall royal sister, next to the tall and strong Bai Pu at this time, seemed a little bird-like, like a vine entwined on a towering tree, and a cloud floating beside a majestic mountain. Qin looked at the Prime Minister and said with a smile, if you don't want to be lonely, I can play with you for a while. However, I can't guarantee the safety of the Blood Ring soldiers you brought. Quang Chan felt an unreal and absurd feeling in his heart. He felt that Qin's unrestrained style was really not related to the queen, who was the mother of the country. Oxenshurna said coldly, enough, put away your cynical tone. The empire is shamed by you, and His Majesty the Emperor should have divorced you long ago. Oxenshurna put away the blood tornado, obviously not going to attack again. Qin also folded his arms and leaned against the door of the bunker, smiling and not attacking. The two powerful level 6 enhanced leaders have already formed a situation of exchanging children. Because both of them have concerns. Qin is concerned about the safety of non-combatants such as Christina, Nale and Harvey in the bunker, while Oxenshurna is concerned about Qin's status as the queen. Of course, if they really fight, he has no confidence in defeating Qin, but it is better to stand by and watch. As long as the elite blood rings and two strong men from other places can defeat the so-called master of Qin, the balance of victory will tilt. Although it seems long, the contest between the two enhanced leaders only takes a few seconds. Bai Pu strode forward, and Yinch felt as if a mountain was pressing down on him. He jumped back and hid behind the two blood ring guards. Both blood ring guards were elite level 6. Under the watchful eyes of the Prime Minister, they could not retreat. At the same time, they raised their shields and took a defensive posture. However, Bai Pu did not even stop his steps, and walked directly through the middle of the blood ring guards. It was as if the two did not exist. The two blood ring guards shouted at the same time, and the short spears thrust out. Their attacks were uniform, and they attacked Bai Pu's left and right ribs almost at the same time, which was obviously well trained. Pounce, pounce. The two short spears pierced Bai Pu's ribs, but they slid away, one on the left and one on the right, leaving only a shallow red mark on Bai Pu's skin. The two blood ring guards rushed forward, and were frozen for a few tenths of a second. Bai Pu paused for a moment, and suddenly raised his chainsaw sword with both hands. A blood red arc suddenly appeared. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210, Blood River Territory. The blood-red fighting spirit, as fierce as the tide, accompanied by the sword blade slashing horizontally, swung out a scorching blood-red arc. The two blood ring guards, their armor shattered, fell out like two broken sacks, and their two heads flew up at the same time. Reason: the vital part of the neck was injured, and the damage exceeded 1/3 of the health value, causing the fatal disability of the head and neck being cut off, leading to death. Yinch and Kuangchen's eyes shrank at the same time. They are also capable of killing a level 6 elite in seconds. But they must have a set of continuous skills and a full-scale ultimate move. Like Bai Pu, who was so easy to do, it was like brushing off two dead grasses, killing two level 6 elites at the same time. They really couldn't do it. Yinch turned around at the first time and accelerated his escape. However, the next second, a blood-red ripple spread rapidly, and the phantom of a surging blood river washed the earth and enveloped him in an instant. Yinch's figure suddenly stagnated, as if there was a heavy object on his body, and it seemed that a pair of ruthless hands grabbed his ankles. The message from the spirit world was simply terrifying. You are affected by Steelheart's occupational skill, Blood River Territory. You cannot use any sprint-type acceleration skills with a priority lower than 8. You receive 1025 points of dark attribute damage per second, depending on your injury. You are affected by Steelheart's occupational skill, Blood River Territory Level 4 Special Effect, Gravity Field. Your movement speed is reduced by 38 points. Bai Pu's agility is as high as 50 points at this time, and he has surpassed Yin Snake in speed. He caught up with Yin Snake in 2 steps and slashed with his sword. Yin Snake felt a great threat from behind, so he could only turn around to block. There were 2 soft ping-pong sounds. Bai Pu's combat expertise at this time was obviously very high, and he completely crushed Yin Snake's skills. While the chainsaw sword was slashing down, it trembled twice, one to the left and one to the right, and hit the 2 daggers respectively. Yin Snake felt a strong horizontal force that Bai Pu could not resist, exerting on his dagger. His short sword involuntarily deviated to both sides, and a crack appeared in the center. The chainsaw sword went straight to the center, and the saw teeth vibrated at high speed, slashing the Yinch's chest. The Blood Mist Butcher's chainsaw sword has its own skills: cutting, tearing. The leather armor on Yinch's chest was instantly cut and shredded, and Yinch had a terrible wound on his chest. 456. What kind of perverted attack can actually damage my 30 points of armor? And it also has 30 points of armor penetration. And what is that damn passive ability, Crush? Yinch was shocked and frightened. His endurance was 55 points, which means 55 points of natural armor. At the same time, the leather armor he wore would give him 10 points of chest armor, which is 65 points. Facing Bai Pu's attack, he had about 56% armor damage reduction. Bai Pu's big sword slash just now has activated the chain sword's cutting skill, destroying 30 points of armor, plus 30 points of armor penetration, which means that Yinch only has 5 points of armor left. The armor damage reduction is only 9%, almost close to the real damage. Bai Pu's weapon skill itself will cause severe damage, and the damage coefficient will double on the original basis, exceeding 200%. In addition, after Bai Pu successfully changed his job, he wore the title of Double-Edged Sword, and the damage he caused and received will increase by 15%. Therefore, although this cut will not hit a critical hit, it also caused a single high damage of more than 1/3 of the health value to Yinch's chest. The disability effect was triggered, and Yinch's sternum was broken. He felt the pain of the broken bones like a needle when he exerted force. The digital consequence of affecting the force action is that the maximum attack power is reduced. Seeing that Bai Pu succeeded with a sword, he had to follow the trajectory of the wind to reverse the sword. Yinch was terrified and hurriedly performed shadow walk. Bai Pu's, seeking the wind, sword missed. It must be said that shadow walking is a magical skill for escaping, and it can even temporarily escape into the shadow world and be free from the restrictions of external deceleration. However, this time, Yinch, who entered the phantom state, still couldn't move his legs. The feeling of being dragged by an invisible big hand, although half dissipated, did not completely dissipate. What's going on? Yinch hurriedly clicked on the prompt information of the battle intelligence while escaping. Your professional skill, shadow walking, the priority of immunity to control is 7 points. Steelheart's professional skill special effect, the priority of the deceleration effect of the gravity field is 8 points. You are not immune to the deceleration effect of the gravity field, and can only partially resist it, with an expected resistance of 75%. Based on the dual deceleration judgment of the gravity field, based on Steelheart's strength and endurance, your deceleration resistance effect is weakened, and the actual resistance is 50%. You are still affected by the 19-point deceleration effect. Hidden Snake didn't even have the energy to yell and curse, dragging the 19-point deceleration effect and rushing on. He originally had 2 acceleration sprint abilities, but at this time he was restricted by priority and couldn't use them at all. After a few seconds of shadow walking, the phantom of the Hidden Snake appeared again as a physical entity. Taking advantage of this short period of time, he and Bai Pu opened up a distance of more than 20 meters. Before Bai Pu changed his job, this distance had exceeded the control range of the gravity ball. But at this time, Bai Pu's blood river field extended with it, still covering the Hidden Snake. Bai Pu's figure jumped high in an instant, launched a wind-stepping slash, and chased after him. The illusionist, who had been stunned for a long time, Jindy, finally came to his senses, screamed, his hair moved automatically without wind, and the blue light on his headscarf flashed, and he performed his strongest illusion, Mirage, Psychedelic Theater. In Bai Pu's field of vision, a full 8 hidden snakes appeared at the same time, escaping in different directions. And each of them seemed to have a physical body, and they stepped on the ground to make a dent when running. The Blood Ring elites around were not watching the show either. In their eyes, Hidden Snake was an ally. So the 2 Blood Ring generals drew their bows and arrows and shot at Bai Pu, who jumped into the air. They did not seek to kill this terrible enemy, but only to slow down his speed and harass him. However, Bai Pu was wrapped in an invisible blood-colored gale. The 4th level special effect of Wind Slash, Gale Protection, can reduce the severity of damage and be immune to control skills at the same time. The priority of immunity can be up to 5 + 2, 7 points. This is an insurmountable chasm for elite professions. Therefore, the phantom created by the golden butterfly only flashed in Bai Pu's vision for a moment before disappearing without a trace. After all, it was an illusion that acted on Bai Pu's senses and was regarded as a kind of control skill. It was broken by the immunity mechanism of the Gale Protection of Wind Slash. If it was replaced by the original Yao Guang, although his strength was weaker than the golden butterfly, the phantom created by his mutation skill could interfere with Bai Pu's judgment. Of course, Bai Pu also had a way to deal with it. Chapter 211 Give them back their free hearts. As for reducing the severity of damage, it means that the original severe damage becomes moderate damage, and moderate damage becomes mild damage. The arrows shot by the 2 Blood Ring generals were originally powerful and the speed was difficult to distinguish with the naked eye, but after hitting Bai Pu's protective wind, they trembled violently, and finally only left 2 scratches on Bai Pu's body surface, which had no effect on the direction of his wind-walking sprint. Yinch was also trying to save himself. After he got out of the shadow-walking state, he saw Bai Pu leaping high, and immediately turned sideways. But Bai Pu was in the air, following the flow trajectory of the wind, and the tip of his sword drew a virtual line, and the blood-colored whirlwind wrapped around him immediately turned, like a hawk swooping down on a rabbit. After changing direction in the air, it crashed into Yinch's head. Yinch's figure inevitably floated into the air. After Bai Pu was promoted to the enhanced hero profession, the basic priority soared to 5 points, and even the floating judgment priority of wind walking slash rose to 7 points. At the moment when his toes left the ground, Yinch started shadow walking again. Bai Pu put away his sword, and made a circle with an expressionless face, shucking several blood ring guards who had surrounded him and made them spit blood and fly back. His eyes were always fixed on the hidden snake that was escaping in the phantom state, and then he chased after it with great strides. Unlike the high-frequency footsteps of the agility expert, whose legs almost turned into afterimages, Bai Pu's speed was fast at this time, but the frequency of his footsteps was not high, but the stride of each step was particularly large. There was a feeling of being a dignified king's teacher, and it was like the heavy sword without a blade in Yang Guo's hand, which seemed rough and blunt, but was the sharpest and most powerful weapon in the world. The hidden snake took advantage of this shadow walking and escaped another 20 meters. Behind Bai Pu, the blood-colored cloak flashed, and suddenly spread out blood-colored wings. He jumped into the air, flapped his blood wings behind him, and caught up with the hidden snake as fast as the wind. With one sword, the hidden snake's weapon was knocked off. With one sword, the hidden snake's body flew away. The last sword slashed down vertically, and the chainsaw blade brought out a blood arc. The special effect of collapsing mountains was activated, cutting the hidden snake in half. The two halves of the hidden snake's body, wrapped in blood and internal organs, fell down helplessly. His pair of cold snake pupils still carried a trace of unwillingness and confusion. He really couldn't understand why a person who had just successfully changed his job and initially stepped into the level of intermediate awakeners had such a strong and overwhelming power. 1 minute, with the escape skill, shadow walking, the dignified 6th level hero profession, Phantom Dragon Fang, in front of a steel heart who had just changed his job and promoted, he couldn't even last 1 minute. Quang Chan's face changed wildly. At the moment when the hidden snake was cut in half, Quang Chan directly used the forced escape props, not daring to delay even a second. As for the other two awakeners of the Jiangnan Su family, Quang Chan's teammates, he could no longer care and could only give up. If Bai Pu really wanted to kill, then let him kill. Quang Chan didn't dare to use his own life to gamble whether Bai Pu was open-minded. In an instant, one of the two hero classes died and the other escaped. Bai Pu saw the scene of Quang Chan escaping. Helian was trembling with fear at this sight. Although they were elite classes, they had no courage to fight against Bai Pu. The two elite awakeners of the Jiangnan Su family turned around and ran away. Bai Pu did not chase them. The Blood River illusion rushing around him was also collected. For every second of opening the Blood River territory, Bai Pu would consume 2 points of fighting spirit. After being promoted to the enhanced hero class, Bai Pu's blood fighting spirit priority was 2 levels higher. In the words of the natives of this world, Bai Pu's blood fighting spirit became very pure and the total amount also increased significantly. When he was at the enhanced elite level 3, Bai Pu only had 200 points of blood fighting spirit. Because of the experience accumulated by completing the SS level job transfer task, the S level main task 2, a series of silver side tasks, etc., Bai Pu was directly promoted to the next level after breaking through the shackles of the intermediate awakener. Yes, after kidnapping Princess Christina and transplanting her heart, Bai Pu also completed the main task 2, destroy the Royal Alchemy Academy, and the task completion evaluation was the highest. This can be seen from the exaggerated war merit points he obtained. Now that the hero is strengthened to level 5, Bai Pu's blood and fighting spirit limit has reached 700 points. Although the total amount has increased significantly, Bai Pu can only last less than 10 minutes when he uses Blood River territory, with all his strength without using any other skills or special effects that consume fighting spirit. These 10 minutes also count as blood fighting spirit recovery efficiency. Because the blood fighting spirit recovery efficiency is related to the stock of blood fighting spirit, unless in extreme circumstances, Bai Pu cannot consume all the blood fighting spirit, which will cause his blood fighting spirit self-recovery efficiency to be extremely slow, and he must have a good sleep. At this time, the blood fighting spirit is also fundamentally different from the general blood fighting spirit. The name of fighting spirit given by the spirit world is called Blood River. The peak value of the Blood River fighting spirit used for the collapse of the mountain special effect has also increased significantly, breaking through the 70-point mark. In normal attacks, every 1 point of Blood River Dao Ki output means a 1% increase in damage. In other words, now Bai Pu fully activates the special effect of Collapse Mountain, which can make his normal attack deal 170% damage, which is equivalent to a physical skill with medium damage. The key is that there is no cooldown time, and it can be suddenly cast during normal attacks to cause heavy damage to the enemy. The significance of using it in close combat is far greater than that of ordinary physical skills. This is why Bai Pu was able to kill 2 elite Blood Ring guards with 1 sword. Although the 2 Blood Ring generals were afraid, They still put aside their fear under the constraints of the blood ring curse seal and charged towards Bai Pu. Bai Pu suddenly raised his fist and hammered his chest. Boom, boom, boom. The fluctuations of the original heart spread, as if symbolizing the drumbeat of liberation. The two blood ring generals roared in pain, and the blood ring curse seal between their eyebrows lit up and disappeared inch by inch. 10 seconds later, the two blood ring generals looked at each other blankly, and then looked at Bai Pu with eyes full of fear, and dared not move forward again. You can actually erase the blood ring curse. Oxenshellna was horrified. I just gave them back their free hearts. Bai Pu stared at Oxenshellna with burning eyes. What about you, Prime Minister of the Blood Ring Empire? If I'm not mistaken, you are also controlled by the Blood Ring Emperor Gustav. Do you want me to remove the curse for you? Oxenshellna said in a deep voice, I volunteer. I am willing to become a part of the great empire. This is my choice to follow my heart. Even if you remove my curse, it can't change my loyalty to His Majesty the Emperor. The strong men in the Blood Ring Pyramid are divided into two types. The former are powerful qualified people themselves, such as Prime Minister Oxenshellna, Marshal Horn, Scholar Schroederer, and Blood Ring General Ralph. They are loyal to Emperor Gustav. In order to have a place in the Blood Ring Empire, they voluntarily accepted the control of Emperor Gustav's curse. Originally, Qin, the Blood Ring Queen, was to be included, but Qin refused, which is why she was marginalized. Jean originally led a research team to study how to control the evolutionary instincts brought about by the flesh plague in order to find a way to save her daughter Christina and allow Christina to live freely in the sun. But she later discovered that the ambitious Gustav had used her. Chapter 212 The New Queen. This self-crowned Blood Ring Emperor didn't even think about curing his daughter. Instead, he wanted to use his wife's research and his daughter's body to develop the Blood Ring curse and build a powerful Blood Ring Empire. This is the root cause of the separation between Jean and Gustav. Prime Minister, I want to ask a question. Why do you follow Emperor Gustav? Bai Pu asked. Oxenshellna said coldly, Your Majesty's great talent and strategy are beyond your imagination. Only by following him can the Kingdom of Sweden. No, the Swedish Empire dominate Europe. Before I came, no one could resist Gustav's expansion. But now. Bai Pu gently hammered his chest, and the fluctuations of the origin heart spread in circles. The blood ring curse on the surrounding blood ring elite soldiers dissipated one after another, 3 times faster than the speed of the 2 blood ring generals' curses. Oxenshellna also felt that his blood ring curse was weakening rapidly, but he did not feel the joy of regaining his freedom, but just stared at Bai Pu coldly. He knew he was no match for Bai Pu. He might have a fighting chance against him, but with Qin, he had no chance of winning. The elite blood rings he brought were completely useless in front of the owner of the origin heart. The reason why Oxenshellna could drive them to risk their lives to attack was because of the blood ring curse. However, Bai Pu, who had the origin heart, could easily eliminate the control of the curse. But now, do you still think Gustav can dominate Europe? Bai Pu stopped stimulating the fluctuations of the origin heart and said coldly, Now the situation is clear, Gustav's failure is inevitable. The blood ring deformed army he forcibly recruited will become a mess, and even turn against each other. He will become a complete loser. There are many qualified people like me who hold the great ambition of reviving the glory of Northern Europe. Even if the restrictions of the curse are lifted, we will still unite around His Majesty the Emperor until the last breath of our lives. In Oxenshellna's palm, a small blood-colored whirlwind whistled. He seemed to have made up his mind to fight Bai Pu and Qin to the death, even if it was a spectacular death. John. Qin suddenly said, to revive the glory of Northern Europe, you don't have to follow Gustav. Qin spoke at this time, completely without her usual charm. She looked solemn and dignified. If she takes off this black robe and puts on a lace stand-up collar corset and a drum-shaped skirt, she will be the real Queen of Sweden. Without waiting for Oxenshellna to object, Qin continued, Now, Mr. Diofurt, the outsider in front of you has become the new mother of the flesh and blood plague. As you can see, he has done better than the young Christina and can control the evolutionary impact of the flesh and blood plague with ease. And I was the leader in the research on the bleeding ring curse. Just imagine what the combination of Dio and I means. Oxenshellna's face changed, but he still said reluctantly, the Vasa dynasty is the orthodox Nordic dynasty. This outsider is seeking to usurp the throne, and he cannot get the support of any Nordic nobles. The resistance you will face will definitely not be small. Actually, This point is wrong. If Bai Pu is really a local, what does it matter if he is not legitimate? It would not be difficult to conquer the peninsula by force, defeat all the dissatisfied Nordic nobles, and then establish a new Fulay dynasty. But Bai Pu is an awakener after all, and the time he can stay in this world is limited. Now Bai Pu is already level 5. With his efficiency in discovering and completing difficult tasks, his level is increasing very rapidly. It is just around the corner to reach level 7 and be promoted to a high-level awakener. It is indeed impossible for Bai Pu to stay in the world of the flesh plague and become king. Qin smiled and said, Dio told me that he has no intention of the Swedish throne. John, you probably forgot. We have a legitimate heir to the Vasa dynasty. You mean? Prime Minister Oxenstierna's face suddenly changed, with a hint of shock in his eyes. Bai Pu stepped into the bunker, and when he reappeared, a girl with dry yellow hair and thin figure was sitting on his broad shoulders, like an ugly duckling. As you can see, the warmongering King Gustavus Adolf will become history, and the kind and friendly Queen Christina, her name will resound throughout the European continent. Bai Pu's words were loud and clear. I don't believe you can give up the throne that is at your fingertips, unless you swear to the Almighty. You will never touch the throne of the Vasa dynasty. Oxenstierna said with trembling lips. Bai Pu looked it up. The swearing to the Almighty in the mouths of the natives is actually asking the will of the spirit world to notarize it. If Bai Pu made it up casually and fooled around, Oxenstierna would definitely not believe it. After all, he was an enhanced leader with spiritual expertise and had enough perception to distinguish the truth from the false. Just like in the scene of Three Kingdoms, Red Cliff, many scholars have the ability to judge colors by appearance. Bai Pu really had no idea of becoming king. At least in this intermediate spirit world, he was not interested, and immediately swore an oath under the notarization of the will of the spirit world. There was no loophole in the oath issued by Bai Pu, and he fully respected the wisdom of Oxenstierna, the greatest politician in Europe in the 17th century. His honesty finally won the recognition of the former Prime Minister of the Blood Ring Empire. Why did Bai Pu and Qin take the trouble to recruit Prime Minister Oxenstierna instead of killing him? The reason is very simple. This Prime Minister holds a large number of Blood Ring guards in Stockholm, as well as the curse seal of the Blood Ring fleet. Based on the characteristics of the Blood Ring pyramid's layered control, as long as this Prime Minister is recruited, it is equivalent to controlling most of the Blood Ring Aberrant Corps in Stockholm. Next, let the Prime Minister summon the Aberrant Corps. Bai Pu can erase their former Blood Ring curse seals with the highest efficiency, and Qin will re-engrave the curse seals for them. As long as this step is completed, it is equivalent to turning the core of the Blood Ring fortress into their own rear base. If Prime Minister Oxenstierna is stubborn, Bai Pu and Qin will have no choice but to kill him, and then slowly look for the Blood Ring Aberrant troops scattered around, and transform them one by one into their own people. The inefficiency of doing this can be imagined. After the Prime Minister surrendered, Bai Pu and Qin took the Princess, Harvey, Yvette, and the injured Guardian Knight Gawain and others on the Blood Ring warship and returned to Stockholm. Only the alchemist Master Nale refused Bai Pu's recruitment. He confessed that he had already repaid Bai Pu's kindness and was tired of this world full of flesh and blood plague. Next, Master Nale would find a secluded place to live in seclusion, delve into the traditional alchemy of the past, and no longer care about worldly affairs. Chapter 213, The Talent Tree of the Heart of Evolution. Bai Pu rested in the Blood Ring Palace for a day. During this time, he was a little exhausted. He wanted to give up the remaining 10 days of free exploration time and return to the real world early to sleep for 3 days and 3 nights. However, Bai Pu still couldn't just leave. The Blood Rose War was still going on. Although the war situation had taken a big turn for the better, the Blood Ring Emperor Gustav was still there. The Blood Ring Fortress also had a channel for quickly transmitting information, similar to the blood and flesh pigeons. After Bai Pu hijacked Princess Christina's lead coffin, Schroeder, a scholar loyal to the Emperor, had already delivered the news to the Magma front line at the first time. Intelligence showed that Emperor Gustav had withdrawn his troops and led his Blood Ring elites to Stockholm. Bai Pu must get rid of this Lord-level strongman before his layout in this world can be fully implemented. During the rest time, Bai Pu sorted out his strength breakthrough in this job transfer. The first is to strengthen the hero profession, Blood River Tyrant, with strength and endurance. After the job transfer is successful, you will get 10 basic strength and 10 basic endurance rewards. For every level increase, The Blood River Tyrant's occupation template will increase 5 basic strength and 5 basic endurance, and 3 agility and spirit, with an overall attribute increase of 16 points. The original occupation skill, Flesh Armor, upgraded to Blood River Territory, can use Dao Ki to create a Blood River illusion, inflict dark attribute damage to all enemies within the affected area, and heal the same amount of health. The excess health will be converted into an equal amount of shields, and the upper limit of the shield is 3 times the endurance attribute. Blood River Territory has no cooldown time, and there is no need to prepare flesh spells in advance. As long as the Dao Ki is sufficient to support it, it can be cast. Of course, each time the Blood River Territory is opened, 50 points of Blood River Dao Ki will be consumed, and then an additional 2 points of Dao Ki will be consumed every second. The level 4 special effect of Blood River Territory has been upgraded from Gravity Ball to Gravity Field. It is no longer absorbed in the direction of Bai Pu, but Bai Pu controls the gravity within the range of the Blood River, including friendly forces. Simply put, in Blood River Territory, Bai Pu can help his allies gain a light body speed-up effect, or make the enemy suffer a heavy body slow-down effect as he wishes. Regardless of whether the speed-up or slow-down effect is achieved, it is based on the dual judgment of Bai Pu's strength attribute and endurance attribute. The dual judgment does not add up the effects that affect speed, but takes the highest value. For example, if Bai Pu's strength is 68 and his endurance is 77, he will apply a 38-point slowdown effect to the enemies in Blood River Territory. The significance of the dual judgment is that when the enemy tries to counteract the effect, a second judgment is required. The first victim is Yinch. His Shadow Walk has a priority of 7 points, which can originally resist 75% of the slowdown effect, but under the dual judgment, it can only resist 50% of the slowdown effect. Blood River Territory is Bai Pu's professional skill based on the endurance hero profession. At the same time, Bai Pu is also a strength hero profession, and he has obtained an additional professional skill, Tyrant Blast. Tyrant Blast, passive. Every normal attack of the Blood River Tyrant is an interpretation of violent aesthetics. You gain a bonus to your strength when you try to knock up or knock back a target, based on your level, 5 points per level, currently 25 points. You are more likely to injure an enemy with a lower strength than you. In the first battle after Bai Pu's job change, he was able to kill 2 Blood Ring Guards in one move, which was naturally due to the passive special effect of Tyrant Blow. The above are the changes to the job panel. Of course, the biggest change is Bai Pu's talent, the Heart of Evolution. After transplanting 2 pieces of original heart tissue and successfully fusing them into one original heart, Bai Pu opened the talent tree of the Heart of Evolution. The number of layers of the talent tree is currently unknown, and each layer requires collecting a God script to open. Fortunately, Bai Pu now has a God script. Bai Pu thinks that this may be related to his collection of an original heart. The cornerstone talent of the Heart of Evolution, that is, the 3 major talent abilities are still there, but the third talent, Gene Fragments, has changed. Gene Fragments, when you use Gene Fragments to fuse, you no longer need to consume life source points. Based on the improvement of your own strength, you no longer crave and collect Gene Fragments of Elite and Enhanced Elite templates. In other words, Bai Pu can now only collect Gene Fragments of enemies with templates of leaders and above. At the same time, the resource bar of life source has completely become history. Bai Pu thinks this is a good thing. His life source points have always been tight, and he is usually in a state of not making ends meet. Although the appetite of the Heart of Evolution has become higher now, and at least a leader must be killed before Gene Fragments can be collected, Bai Pu can use the leader's Gene Fragments for fusion without consumption every time he kills a leader. Of course, the Gene Fragments of elite enemies collected before can still be used, and they will no longer consume life source. But one less is one less. The first level of the talent tree has a total of 3 options, all of which are currently dim and have not yet been lit up to activate their effects. A. Memory Expansion. Increase your adaptive evolution storage layer by 4. B. Source Blood Apostle. You can condense source blood. Injecting source blood can obtain permanent slaves. C. Genetic Image. Every time you use gene fusion, you can get the opportunity to summon the phantom of the target strong in the image. You can hone your combat skills with the phantom of a strong man. These 3 options correspond to the 3 cornerstone talents of adaptive evolution, pure blood defense and gene fragments. Item A. Memory Expansion can increase the number of layers of adaptive evolution storage to 8 layers, so that Bai Pu does not have to always delete a certain evolution state and store a new evolution state. Item C. Genetic mental image is actually an option to help Bai Pu hone his combat expertise. The so-called mental image is actually the imagination of the mind. For example, Bai Pu has integrated the gene fragments of the Blood Mist Butcher, so he can mentally project the phantom of the Blood Mist Butcher in his spare time to train in meditation combat. These two items belong to the improvement of soft power, and Bai Pu certainly attaches great importance to them. However, the best one is item B, Source Blood Apostle. As long as the Source Blood Apostle in item B is lit up, Bai Pu can condense the source blood and inject the source blood into the target person's body, making him his permanent slave Source Blood Apostle. As a permanent slave, the Source Blood Apostle can follow Bai Pu back to the real world, or he can fight in other worlds with Bai Pu. To light up the branch options on the talent tree, you need not psychic points, nor the previous life source points, but a resource point called legend points. Bai Pu checked it out, and the will of the spirit world quickly gave feedback. Legend, you have greatly changed the fate of a world, and you have left an indelible legend in this world. Both the living and the dead are chanting your name. Comma, every time you become a legend in a world, you can get at least one legend point. Comma, the title of Dao Key is changed to Blood River Dao Key. Chapter 214 Silver Relic. Looking at the description of legend points, Bai Pu's heart was filled with lofty ambitions. Obviously, it is not easy to obtain legend points. You have to become a legend in a world where you can turn your hands to clouds and rain, and then you can get legend points. The higher the legend, the more legend points you get. In the first level of the talent tree, each option requires one legend point to light up. Fortunately, Bai Pu has already obtained one legend point in this world of Flesh Plague, Distortion. You have obtained the greatest secret of the Flesh Plague, Distortion world, the Origin Heart. You have achieved the achievement of Legend, Source of Plague and obtained one legend point. Bai Pu asked, in addition to discovering the greatest secret of the world, you can get legend points. In addition, what other explorations can allow me to obtain legend points? Please explore on your own. The will of the spirit world did not respond. Bai Pu thought about it. According to the description of legend, by the will of the spirit world, he can start from the two aspects of dramatically changing the fate of the world and the living or the dead chanting your name to try to obtain more legend points. The Flesh Plague, the distorted world, if it weren't for me, it would have been the result of the Blood Ring Fortress dominating. I have now destroyed the foundation of the Blood Ring Fortress. Doesn't that count as significantly changing the fate of the world? Bai Pu frowned and thought, could it be that the will of the spirit world thinks that I haven't done enough and that it will only count if Emperor Gustav is killed? No matter what, Bai Pu will eventually face Gustav, and then he can verify whether Bai Pu's idea is correct. Bai Pu chose to consume one legendary point to light up the first level of the talent tree, item B, Source Blood Apostle. Bai Pu immediately felt the change, his heart palpitated, and the power in the dark made his heart condense 2 drops of blood essence in the beating. Bai Pu stretched out a finger, and under meditation, 1 drop of blood essence flowed out of his fingertips. This drop of blood essence seemed like flowing magma, and also like clouds in the sky, exactly the same as the source blood that Bai Pu had obtained. Obviously, this is the source blood condensed by Bai Pu. Source blood can greatly improve a person's strength, allowing ordinary people to gain elite-level power, and will not be deformed and die like Bai Pu's previous 3 experimental subjects. The deformation is caused by the influence of evolutionary instinct. Bai Pu is now the owner of the source heart. He can help his source blood apostle suppress the evolutionary instinct of the source blood. Of course, if it is used on the natives who are strong in themselves, the improvement will not be so obvious. The specific improvement data depends on the actual effect. Bai Pu took the source blood back into his body. Now, Bai Pu's cornerstone talent, pure blood defense, has also been enhanced. The upper limit of pure blood is still 2 drops, but the generation cycle has been greatly shortened from 7 days to 48 hours. The quality of pure blood has also been improved, and the temporary increase in its own strength has reached 12 free attribute points. I just don't know what kind of improvement it will have if it is used on slaves. At present, I can have 2 source blood apostles and 2 temporary slaves. Bai Pu calculated silently. He now has 2 drops of source blood and 2 drops of pure blood. However, the choice of source blood apostles needs to be cautious. Source blood cannot be naturally condensed. If 1 drop is used, 1 drop will be less. Only when the source blood apostle dies and Bai Pu is at the scene, can the source blood be recovered. If Bai Pu is not at the scene and the apostle dies, Bai Pu cannot recover the source blood. That drop of source blood will be seized by the enemy, and Bai Pu will lose a drop of source blood forever. Of course, source blood has the characteristics of automatic formation and extremely difficult to damage. Even if the enemy gets the source blood, they can only use it at most, but they cannot destroy it. Bai Pu will have a sense of the lost source blood. He can drop and obtain the source blood again by killing the enemy holding the source blood. At present, it seems that my combat power has been improved. I should no longer need to rely on external objects such as inert potions to deal with intermediate enhanced leaders. If the firepower is fully opened, using enhancement methods such as gene fragment fusion and pure blood injection into myself, I can activate the Bloodwing Cloak and make the agility break through the 50-point mark. Killing intermediate hero professions such as Hidden Snake is also quite easy. However, if the two enhancement talents are not used, Bai Pu's agility is only 31 points, and the level of combat expertise is only advanced level 5. Although it is still possible to defeat a mid-level hero class like Hidden Snake, it will definitely take a long time, and it can only be defeated, not killed. Bai Pu then checked the storage space. There are 4 loot chests that have not yet been opened: the large golden treasure chest of the Scholar Schroeder, the blue treasure chests of the 2 blood ring guards, the bloody treasure chest of the Hidden Snake. Among them, Bai Pu has high hopes for the large golden treasure chest of the Scholar Schroeder. This treasure chest was obtained before he changed his job. Although it was influenced by the Plague Matrix, Princess Christina, it is definitely a case of the weak defeating the strong, and the battle evaluation will not be too low. Bai Pu chose to open it, and as expected, he received a prompt from the Will of the Spirit World. You have obtained 10,995 spiritual points. You have obtained 4 chances to draw loot cards. Based on your evaluation of this battle, you can exclude 32 undervalued cards. Do you want to exclude? Looking at the 48 loot cards neatly arranged in front of him, Bai Pu decisively chose to exclude them. All of a sudden, a total of 32 undervalued cards turned into a stream of psychic particles, dissipating like smoke. Bai Pu directly selected 4 times from the remaining 16 cards. The first 3 times he selected, the spoils turned out were a lucky bag, an A-level enhancement card, and a scroll, but none of them were enough to move Bai Pu. But the 4th time he clicked, after the card turned over, a crystal clear crystal ball pattern suddenly appeared. You have obtained the silver relic equipment, Schroeder's Crystal Ball, Schroeder's Crystal Ball, encapsulated, quality, silver relic, equipment location, offhand, equipment requirements, basic spirit 30, attributes, spirit +7, additional skill 1, soul enlightenment, imagine a target and obtain more detailed intelligence information about the other party. You must have seen the target. The level of detail of the intelligence is based on the difference in strength between you and the other party. Additional skill 2, encyclopedia, record a spell. You can cast this spell at any time. Durability 60/60. Description: the Scholar Schroeder is well read and has traveled far and wide. Emperor Gustav was deeply influenced by him when he was young. A magical instrument with 30 basic spirit points. Bai Pu frowned slightly. This silver relic is much stronger than ordinary gold equipment, but it belongs to the magic instrument type, which does not match Bai Pu's positioning. Moreover, the basic spirit requires 30 points, and Bai Pu's current basic spirit is 24 points. This means that Bai Pu must spend pure blood to meet the equipment requirements. I can only put it aside for the time being. Bai Pu sighed lightly and put the crystal clear crystal ball into his storage space. Chapter 215: The Appointment. This time, the lucky bag had a 2x crit, giving Bai Pu about 23,000 psychic points. The scroll looked a bit old, but it was a very rare skill book. Blood extraction, 3-star skill. Extract the blood from the target, causing continuous moderate arc attribute damage, and use part of the damage to heal itself. During the blood extraction process, the target will feel intense pain. The higher the damage per second, the more intense the pain. This skill should be the core skill of the Scholar Schroeder. If you practice to key levels such as level 4 and level 7, you may be able to draw powerful special effects such as Blood Tide or even Corrosion Blood Explosion. After all, it is a precious 3-star skill, and the probability of drawing powerful special effect options is higher than that of low-star skills. Not to mention that this skill itself has a certain control effect. When Schroeder used this skill, it brought Bai Pu intense pain, and even affected Bai Pu's ability to move. If Bai Pu had not switched to Black Rock Body to resist the damage of this skill, and the pain was weakened by half, he might not have been able to kill Schroeder. That being said, this skill is not suitable for Bai Pu to use by himself, because it is a spell skill, and the calculation of damage depends on the user's spiritual attribute. Bai Pu's spiritual attribute is not high, and using this skill can only cause low damage per second, and the pain that comes with it is certainly not strong, which does not affect the enemy's combat effectiveness. Moreover, this kind of continuous skill is generally a big mana consumer, and Bai Pu's blood fighting spirit is definitely not enough. He can only rely on the mental power points to invest in the hard cap, and it can't last for a few seconds. After the scholar's treasure chest was opened, Bai Pu opened the treasure chests of the 2 blood ring guards. In addition to the spiritual points brought to Bai Pu, the 2 treasure chests only brought Bai Pu the most basic single-time extraction opportunity, and it was extracted from dozens of loot cards. There is no option to exclude undervalued cards, and the probability of drawing good things is about less than 10%. However, Bai Pu was lucky this time. One of the treasure chests gave out an equipment, a pair of wrist guards, blue equipment. The wristband is called Wrist of Protection, and it actually has a passive skill that improves combat expertise, which can improve the wearer's shield mastery expertise by 2 levels. The wearer's shield mastery expertise cannot exceed advanced level 6. The special effects of this equipment even made Bai Pu a little tempted, but unfortunately the status of Iron Wristband of the Immortal King is too high, and he can't afford to touch porcelain. It can be seen that there is a small probability of fine blue equipment. The value of this heavy armor, Wrist of Protection, for tank-type professions is definitely higher than that of ordinary gold equipment. Another blue treasure chest produced a sundry item, which was an ordinary horsewhip without any special effects. Bai Pu directly sold it to the spirit world and earned 400 spiritual energy points. 2 palace maids brought Qin's invitation and invited Bai Pu to take a bath and rest. The large stone bathtub has a thick layer of linen on the bottom. The steaming water is shrouded in mist, and you can vaguely see spices such as chamomile and mugwort floating on it. There was a thick wooden board placed on the corner of the bathtub, on which were placed various fresh fruit bowls and plates. There were also 2 maids wrapped in thin towels, holding silver wine jugs, waiting beside. Bai Pu stepped into the warm water and immediately uttered a comfortable low moan. I don't know what ingredients were added to the water, but it was slowly repairing Bai Pu's scars. Of course, these were only shallow scars, and there was still a gap with the spiritual fluid soaking of the Secret Service. For example, if Bai Pu's body was a wire that had been bent dozens of times and was covered with cracks, the soaking in the bathtub here could only repair the cracks on the surface of the wire. The spiritual fluid soaking of the Secret Service could restore Bai Pu's body to its best condition, just like a brand new wire that had never been bent. Having said that, enjoying the meticulous service of the maids in the palace was a luxurious and relaxing feeling, and conditioning the body was just a little bit of a side benefit. After soaking for a while, the maids respectfully withdrew. Qin, wrapped in a white bath towel, walked over gracefully. Her hair was soft and wet, and her body exuded a pleasant floral scent. By the bathtub, the bath towel fell off automatically, and Qin's laughter rang out. Dio, do you need a back rub? According to the king's bathing custom, there would be a young and beautiful maid who would use her body as a towel to rub the back. However, Qin replaced the maid and completed the process very well. It's just that the back rub took a little too long, and the sound of the water was too intense. The maid who came to help refill the hot water blushed. After the bath, Bai Pu wrapped in a bathrobe and sat on the velvet sofa. Qin was also wearing a loose bathrobe and leaned against Bai Pu. At this time, the sofa was filled with natural elastic materials such as horsehair and bird feathers, which were luxury goods that only nobles could afford. How have you thought about the origin heart? Qin asked. With your current strength, you should be able to fulfill our agreement, right? Yes. Bai Pu glanced at Qin, but, are you really willing? Bai Pu's words seemed to have other meanings. Of course I want to go to your world to take a look. Qin smiled and said, besides, this is what we agreed on in the north of Brandon, and I don't want to disappoint you. Last time in the north of Brandon, I didn't know you well enough. This time when I came to your homeland, I gradually understood why you made that agreement at that time. At that time, Bai Pu was just an ordinary person who had not yet awakened, while Qin was the queen, with a noble status, and was a strengthened leader with strong strength. It was somewhat unreasonable for such a noble, powerful, and beautiful woman to take the initiative to be Bai Pu's slave. Bai Pu also had doubts at the time, and could only explain it by saying Qin is more paranoid. But now, Bai Pu has completely understood Qin's incredible agreement at that time. Qin left the Blood Ring Fortress in order to find a qualified person who could carry the original heart of Princess Christina. Bai Pu had the potential of a qualified person, so he naturally won Qin's favor. The rapid increase in favorability and the sudden infatuation at that time were certainly related to the potential and wisdom shown by Bai Pu himself, but there must also be Qin's expectations for Bai Pu. Qin proposed the agreement of becoming Bai Pu's slave to express her hope for Bai Pu. She hoped that Bai Pu would return to the world of blood plague and take over the curse in her daughter's body. This agreement was very much like a bait to lure Bai Pu to work hard for it. Of course, Qin had no intention of deceiving Bai Pu. She used herself as bait, and she sincerely revealed everything to Bai Pu. After Bai Pu successfully fulfilled her long-cherished wish, Qin also took the initiative to come forward to fulfill the agreement. Qin, I am where I am today thanks to your help. So, you don't owe me anything. If you have any doubts, I can treat that agreement as graffiti on the beach of the Baltic Sea. Qin and Bai Pu looked at each other. As a spiritually oriented enhanced leader, she could feel the sincerity in Bai Pu's words. Bai Pu was answered by Qin's aggressive kiss. This is the third update of the day. Due to force majeure, there is no fixed update time today. I apologize to all the benefactors. The average subscription has met the standard for additional updates, but please give me a few days. I will definitely add more updates when Lao recovers. I beg you to continue to support me. Don't support me. Even if you support me, don't forget to vote. Thank you. Chapter 216 How can it not count? How can we not count what we have agreed to? After parting their lips, Qin licked her lips, showing a hint of smile, and then said seriously, however, the development of the current situation is indeed beyond my expectations. I didn't expect you to be able to master the cursed heart so quickly, and successfully expel the blood ring curse and disintegrate Gustav's deformed army. Now, Christina is recognized by all parties as the next queen candidate, but she is still young after all, and has been in prison for many years, so it is difficult for her to perform the duties of the queen. For a considerable period of time, I will be the regent as the queen mother. Bai Pu nodded slightly. This is also the reason why I asked you. You have to stay to take care of and teach Christina. I am afraid you don't have time to go to my world with me. After becoming your apostle, can't I return to this world? Qin asked. Bai Pu shook his head. This is your world, and you are one of the important landmarks of this world. I can summon you in other worlds, and you can return to this world at any time, just like I can return to my world, reality, at any time. But if you follow me to my world, real world, you will be considered a human in my world, real world, in the future. It will be difficult to come here. You need a ticket to enter, and you cannot stay for a long time. Bai Pu has already made inquiries in this regard. When Bai Pu leaves this world, he can choose whether to take the Source Blood Apostle away from this world. If he chooses to take him away and return to reality together, the Source Blood Apostle will be a part of the real world in the future, a special awakened character, and everything must be done according to the rules of awakened people in the spirit world. If he chooses to stay, the Source Blood Apostle will still stay in this world in the future as a special native character. Bai Pu can temporarily summon the Source Blood Apostle to other worlds like summoning from another world, but the summoning has a time limit. After exceeding the time limit, it will consume mental energy and cannot be maintained forever. Qin frowned and thought for a while, then said, in this case, I am still willing to become your apostle, but I want to stay in this world. When you need me, you can summon me in any world to help you fight. When the battle is over, I will come back to take care of and teach Christina. I will officially enter your world after Christina can gain the support of all the subjects and sit firmly on the position of queen. Bai Pu nodded and said, this is indeed a win-win choice. From the perspective of legendary points, leaving behind a Source Blood Apostle to spread Bai Pu's name and achievements in this world is also an attempt to obtain legendary points. Bai Pu's evolution heart talent tree must be extremely in need of legendary points. Come on. Qin took a deep breath, then blinked her beautiful eyes cunningly. Will it hurt? It will only hurt for a while, and it will be fine later. Bai Pu was very good at accompanying Qin on the meat-eating journey, which eased Qin's nervousness. After all, after being injected with the source blood and becoming an apostle, Qin's identity was no longer a free man, but Bai Pu's slave. This was something that even Emperor Gustav could not do. A hint of red oozed from Bai Pu's fingertips, like flowing magma. After asking, Qin directly opened her lips and took Bai Pu's finger into her mouth. The next second, the power of the source blood was injected into Qin's body. Qin's eyes suddenly widened, her long hair fluttered in the wind, and her body trembled violently, like a fish that had just left the water. After a full 10 seconds, Qin finally recovered, stroked her towering chest, and sighed, "What a special feeling. Hey, my ability seems to have undergone some changes." As she spoke, Qin showed her new panel. Qin, pseudonym, level 6 enhanced leader, race, humanoid human, occupation, source blood mage, attributes, strength 49, agility 55, endurance 80, spirit 100, skills 17, source blood apostle, flesh alchemy, catalytic field, potion throwing, breath of blood, blood mist snake, blood arrow. As an enhanced leader and part of the world beacon, Qin originally had a skill that added health points, called Queen's Ceremony, which could add 1000 extra health points. But now, Queen's Ceremony has become Source Blood Apostle. The current skill level is level 6, the added health points have become 600 points, but it has gained 10 points of fixed damage reduction. The reduction of continuous damage has been reduced to 33%. Comparing the two skills, Bai Pu actually thinks that the fixed damage reduction is better. Compared to before, your attributes have also improved. Now that Qin has become half an awakener, Bai Pu no longer needs to be vague about some of the awakener's special terms, and said directly, "Now your attributes have exceeded that of a level 6 enhanced leader." Bai Pu remembered that the highest single attribute of a level 6 enhanced leader should be around 90 points. Qin's spirit has already broken through the 100-point mark, between the enhanced leader and the Lord. Perhaps it is related to the world beacon. After all, Qin is still half a native. If Qin leaves the world of blood and flesh plague, and becomes a part of the real world, a special awakener, without the strength bonus of the world beacon, I wonder if the attribute will become weaker. Of course, even without the bonus of the world beacon, it can be compensated by equipment. The natives do not have the attribute bonus of equipment, because they are blessed by the world beacon, and their own attributes are strong enough. For example, Bai Pu's Bloodwing Cloak, when equipped to the natives, can only use the equipment additional skill wings, and the +7 agility bonus is not effective. The advantage of the Awakener is the equipment bonus, as well as the special effects of the enhanced equipment, and the learning of various special skills. Speaking of equipment, Bai Pu handed the silver relic, Schroeder's crystal ball, to Qin. Bai Pu himself does not trust any outsiders, he believes more in equal exchange. However, Qin is already his apostle, so she is naturally not an outsider, but someone Bai Pu can trust 100%. It is the relic of the scholar. Qin seemed to be lost in nostalgia, gently stroking the surface of the crystal ball. Sure enough, after Qin got this equipment, there was no option such as whether to unseal, and her spirit did not increase by +7, but remained at 100 points. However, Qin can already use the crystal ball to record spells, or use the detection ability of soul enlightenment. Bai Pu originally wanted Qin to help detect the strength of Emperor Gustav, but Qin said no, he must meet Gustav in the near future before he can use soul enlightenment. The reason is probably that Gustav and Qin have not seen each other for a long time, and Gustav's strength must have changed significantly. Of course it is not accurate. There will be an update at noon, and I also apply for a delay. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217, The Last Thing. In order to verify his guess, Bai Pu took the crystal ball back. He looked carefully and found that the words, encapsulated, were still displayed behind the equipment name of the crystal ball. Sure enough, the natives would not allow the equipment to be unsealed. This also explains why the natives can take the equipment from other natives and use it. They don't need psychic resonance at all. On the other hand, psychic resonance is actually a part of activating the equipment attribute bonus, which is why the natives can't enjoy the equipment attribute bonus. Dio, Since the equipment is so important to you, why don't I get 2 pieces of equipment from the Guardian Knight for you? Qin had an idea after hearing it. No, I can only activate the encapsulated equipment. The equipment you already have must be unsealed. Bai Pu explained, the reason why this crystal ball has encapsulated is because it is my trophy. The process of extracting the trophy card from the treasure chest is actually the process of encapsulation of the spirit world's will. I also want to see the trophy treasure chest you mentioned. Can I see it now? Qin was like a Persian cat full of curiosity. You are my apostle now, so you should be able to see it. Bai Pu also has a bloody treasure chest obtained from Yinch. He originally wanted to return to the Secret Service Bureau to open it, but now Qin has a request, and he must satisfy it. Yinch's bloody treasure chest is 1 size larger than the bloody treasure chests Bai Pu had obtained before. The blood on it is rich, just like dried blood that cannot be dissolved. Killing Yinch did not increase Bai Pu's bloodiness value. The will of the spirit world still determined that Bai Pu killed Yinch in the state of self-defense counterattack. It can be seen that the will of the spirit world's judgment on self-defense counterattack is quite intelligent, and it is not a mechanical judgment of who attacks first and who attacks later. Although Yinch did not attack Bai Pu at that time, he tried to break into the bunker door to interfere with Bai Pu at the last moment of Bai Pu's job transfer task. He had the subjective intention of invading. After Bai Pu successfully transferred to another job, he chased and killed Yinch and killed him, which was determined by the will of the spirit world as self-defense counterattack. So Bai Pu's bloodiness value at this time is still 0. When Bai Pu opened the bloody treasure chest, Qin curiously reached out to touch it, but her hand passed through the bloody treasure chest, as if it was nothingness. This is my trophy, so only I have the authority to open it, Bai Pu said. Qin curled her lips, quite unconvinced. In the bloody treasure chest of the hidden snake, in a bloody whirlwind, countless bloody cards floated in it, and occasionally you could catch a glimpse of the light of blue, gold and other equipment. The blood value of the relevant deceased is 47 points. When you draw a bloody treasure chest, you are more likely to draw a high-valued item. Based on the blood value of the deceased, you can filter and exclude 2 of the following options. A. The psychic points carried by the deceased, number of cards. 3. B. The equipment worn by the deceased, number of cards. 16. C. Items in the storage space of the deceased, number of cards. 29. D. The honor value of the deceased in the Spirit World War, number of cards. 3. Hint. Item D only appears in the bloody treasure chest obtained by killing in the self-defense counterattack state during the Spirit World War. This time, the extraction of the bloody treasure chest has 1 more item than usual, the honor value in the Spirit World War. Bai Pu thought of the rank of Yinch, which has reached the level of Black Iron Lieutenant. The honor value must be a lot. Although Bai Pu has checked the role of military rank, he has a vague understanding of it. The will of the spirit world only says that the military rank represents authority, and it can be exchanged for some rare items when entering and leaving the spirit world. However, Bai Pu can still judge that the military rank must be a level of authority that is worth rushing and must be rushed. You have to know that the spiritual world war is going on now. For the spiritual world that Bai Pu belongs to, the focus will definitely be on the war. If the reward of military rank is not attractive enough, how can it attract the awakened to fight for it and actively participate in the war? Bai Pu chose to exclude items B and C. The 48 blood cards in front of him suddenly disappeared in large numbers, and only 6 blood cards were left. These 6 cards are 3 psychic point cards and 3 honor value cards. Bai Pu also received a prompt that based on the 47 blood points of the hidden snake, he can exclude 8 undervalued cards. Bai Pu decisively chose not to exclude. Just kidding, there are only 6 cards left now. If he excludes 8 more cards, Bai Pu can only draw air. Fortunately, Bai Pu has 2 chances to draw cards. He stretched out his hand and clicked, and the 2 cards turned over. One of the cards was a gold coin pattern, and Bai Pu got a prompt, "You have obtained 8,000 psychic points." Another card, however, was a metal pattern, and Bai Pu also got a hint, "You have earned 380 honor points. Your current honor points have reached 440 points, 440 out of 100, automatically promoted to sergeant. Your current honor points have reached 440 points, 440 out of 300, automatically promoted to staff sergeant. When your honor points reach 1,000 points, you will be eligible for promotion to lieutenant. His rank jumped from corporal to staff sergeant, but Bai Pu fell into thought, why is Yinsh's honor point so high? Obviously, Yinsh is a black iron second lieutenant, which means that he has accumulated 1,000 honor points and completed the assessment for promotion to lieutenant. Bai Pu eliminated a different world time and space node and only got 60 honor points. Counting the black iron metal that can be exchanged for 100 honor points, it is only 160 honor points. Did Yinsh eliminate more than 10 different world time and space nodes? Thinking of the powerful alien walker Meshit who guards the time and space nodes, with his endless high damage spells and powerful control and displacement skills, Bai Pu felt that his opponent should be stronger than the hidden snake. Even if the agile assassin has an advantage against the mage, the alien walkers guarding the alien time and space nodes should not all be spellcasters, right? It should be impossible for the hidden snake to destroy so many alien time and space nodes. Is there a world that can harvest a large amount of honor points? Bai Pu was a little puzzled, so he stopped thinking about it and looked back at Qin. You can see it now, right? Yes, I can see it. Is this the unique way for humans in your world to obtain spoils? It's really interesting. Qin said with a smile. Now, the rest time is over. Bai Pu stood up, took off his bathrobe, and put on his equipment again. It's time to do my last thing in this world: destroy Emperor Gustav. Emperor Gustav, a lord-level strong man. In any other world, Bai Pu would not dare to say the word destroy so easily. Because the Lord is often the head of a force, ordinary awakeners are lucky to see the Lord, let alone kill him, not to mention having to go through many levels of the Lord's elite subordinates. But in the world of the flesh plague, Bai Pu has this confidence. Chapter 218, the final chapter for whom? Bai Pu is the perfect mother of the blood plague, and can disintegrate Gustav's army through the fluctuations of the origin heart. The Lord's greatest reliance no longer exists. If the Lord cannot be killed in this situation, Bai Pu should not think about killing the Lord in the short term. Qin sighed lightly. Gustav has a group of qualified people who are already loyal to him. Even if you erase their blood ring curse, they will still fight for Gustav to the last moment. Fortunately, I am not fighting alone. Bai Pu said with a smile. Qin took a deep breath, as if she had made up her mind. Of course, even if I bear the infamy, I will fight alongside you. Qin is the queen of the Blood Ring Empire after all. She fought side by side with Bai Pu to eliminate her husband Gustav, which would definitely leave people with something to talk about. People who gossip will not know in advance what Gustav did to cause Qin's separation. Bai Pu said, the helper I'm talking about is not you, but the Shinra Expeditionary Force. You shouldn't take action against Gustav. Otherwise, it will shake the legitimacy of you and Christina inheriting the Vesa dynasty. Okay. Qin kissed Bai Pu's cheek. Dio, you are such a gentle person. Thank you for thinking of my predicament. Bai Pu shook her hand and strode out of the bedroom. Chakrona Castle, the former Blood Ring Palace. Council Hall. Princess Christina sat on the throne. After Qin's careful conditioning, Christina's complexion has improved a lot. Her golden hair has begun to shine, and her skinny cheeks have become white and tender. Only the timid little eyes still reveal fear, and from time to time they turn their heads to look at Qin, holding Qin's right hand tightly with both hands. Like a frightened kitten, looking for the comfort of its owner. Bai Pu, dressed in a straight noble military uniform, stood on the other side of Christina. When the ministers below saw Princess Christina, they could not help but have doubts. How could such a timid girl really support the great Swedish Empire? However, when they saw Qin sitting next to them, her eyes were as deep as the sea, and her omnipresent insight, their thoughts faded by half. When they saw Bai Pu standing on the other side, his tall and strong body, like the majestic pressure of mountains, all the doubts of the ministers were dispelled. Qin simply announced that due to Gustav's perverse actions, he aroused unanimous opposition from the lower classes, and the people's livelihood in Sweden was in decline. It was time to change. She followed the will of the people and deprived Gustav of the throne in the name of the legacy of the ancestors of the Vesa dynasty, and handed it over to Princess Christina. Since the princess was not yet an adult, she acted as regent as the queen mother. At least from a procedural point of view, this was legal. Moreover, after Bai Pu's talent tree was opened, the connection between the source blood apostle and Bai Pu became more secretive. Anyone whose template priority was lower than Bai Pu could not see that there was a master-servant relationship between Bai Pu and Qin. The only person who could see through this relationship was Prime Minister Oxenstierna, but he had already accepted this reality. For Prime Minister Oxenschellna, the bottom line was that the heir sitting on the throne could not be Bai Pu's slave. The next decree was to eliminate the influence of the Blood Ring army and restore the freedom of farmers and various farms. Of course, the most important thing was Gustav's threat. The administrative bureaucrats of the Blood Ring Empire did not dare to speak, although they thought that Bai Pu and kin were very capable of erasing the Blood Ring curse. Gustav's prestige was too deep. Relying on these ministers to discuss the military strategy against Gustav was simply a hindrance. Bai Pu directly asked these ministers to withdraw, leaving only those he trusted. For example, Yvette and Maggie, Kin's personal maid who once pretended to be the queen. It should be noted that Yvette is still a little confused. Since joining the Guardian Knights 2 years ago, the hostess she met was Maggie, and she always thought that Maggie was the real queen. Now, Maggie told her that the real queen is the scholar Jin. Jin is the mistress she needs to be loyal to. It was Maggie who sent Yvette to Brandon for help before. That was Jin's order in advance. If the princess's treatment deteriorated significantly, someone should be sent to inform her. At that time, the princess's treatment deteriorated significantly. She was imprisoned in the bunker and even Maggie couldn't see her. Because Maggie knew that Brandon was the home of her own queen, Yvette would definitely see Jin when she went to the Brandon territory. Yvette's worldview collapsed, and she was still trying to rebuild it. Our banner is called Swedish Rebellion. We are the army that represents the people and resists Gustav's tyranny. Dio is our commander, and his heart beats the drum of freedom. Without the outsider, Jean became much more direct. She looked at Gawain, Yvette, Ingvar and others, and said in an unquestionable tone, "We will form an alliance with the Holy Roman Empire Expeditionary Force. After the alliance is reached, we will attack the monster army of the Blood Ring from the south and the north. According to the discussion between Dio and me, I will stay in the capital for logistical support, and Dio will lead you to march south." The Swedish rebellion is nominally composed of people who resist Gustav's tyranny, but in fact they are basically deformed. These deformed people originally belonged to the Blood Ring Deformation Legion, and were reorganized by Bai Pu's erasure of the Blood Ring curse, and then controlled by Jean with a new curse. The rest of the people in the council hall naturally would not object to the order after Jean and Bai Pu discussed. So, an army of 1,000 people went south from Stockholm. The number of people is a little less, but it is the full result of Bai Pu and Kin's adaptation during this period. After all, Gustav led the army in person and took away most of the troops, and the remaining small number of Blood Ring troops stayed in Stockholm. Bai Pu also received a prompt that the world event, Blood Rose War, final chapter, has been opened. It is estimated that the will of the spirit world did not expect that Bai Pu would successfully steal the home just after the war began. The twists and turns and ups and downs of the war process in the middle were all rudely crossed out, leaving only the final chapter. I just don't know who this final chapter is written for? For the Blood Ring Emperor Gustav, or for the short-lived Swedish uprising army? In the Gotland area, the famous Linköping Cathedral, the Swedish uprising army and Gustav's Blood Ring army finally met. Since the bottom of the army of both sides is basically composed of deformed monsters, there is no need for morale and rest, so there is no foreplay. The battle started directly at the first encounter. The third update is here. Chapter 219, Battle of Linköping. A team of 3 awakeners stood on the tall sky-blue spire of Linköping Cathedral, overlooking the battlefield below. From this angle, the armies of both sides of the war were like two torrents, colliding with each other. Senior Longshan, Senior Feng Xiang, this opportunity is rare. Large-scale war copies like this are usually the climax of world events, right? A gentle and refined young man said with a smile. He was wearing a cloth armor robe and holding a golden book in his hand. He was a member of the second term of the genius camp of the Shenset army, an elite professional word spirit master, Killen. On the side of Killen stood a tall female awakener. She was wearing a fiery red leather armor and her chin was slightly raised, giving people a feeling of pride like a phoenix. The female awakener Feng Xiang said lightly, "I know that the climax of world events means huge profits. This kind of temporary teleportation has never happened before, and this is the first time I have encountered it. What bothers me more is why the will of the spiritual world warned us that we can only participate in wars, not explore other areas of the world, and cannot actively attack other awakeners." The awakener standing in front of the 3 people, who was apparently the leader of the team, was wearing heavy armor, carrying a medium-sized shield on his back, and had a strong and sturdy figure. He was obviously the Longshan mentioned by Killen. Longshan said with a smile, the reason is very simple. At the climax of world events like this, the will of the spirit world will usually temporarily send some young and potential awakeners in to participate in the training. I guess we are the awakeners who are inserted into this world midway, and some of them have not used up their stay time. Killen said suddenly, so we can't explore other areas, and we can't attack other awakeners, just to avoid our intrusion and threaten the awakeners who are normally matched. Then there should be more awakener teams like us who are inserted into this world midway. Feng Xiang asked. There should be quite a few, about the same as us, all in their 20s, and at least mid-level awakeners with elite template strength. Longshan said. Killen said, they should be college students like us. Yet, maybe we can meet some old faces in this war. A hint of fighting spirit burned in Longshan's eyes. The new school year begins, and the college championship will be held in more than a month. It's not bad to take this opportunity to observe the strength of those old opponents. In this college championship, our Jiangnan University must make it to the semifinals. The 3 members of the Longshan team floated down. Their transmogrified costumes had the mark of the blood ring drawn on their chests. At the same time, several awakened teams appeared in other corners of the edge of the battlefield. Like the Longshan team, they divided their camps as soon as they appeared. Some belonged to the Blood Ring, some belonged to the Swedish Uprising Army, and some belonged to the Shinra Expeditionary Force. These young and potential awakened teams, like a drop of water merging into the sea, joined the battlefield one after another. The first legion of the Shinra Expeditionary Force appeared in the southern area of the battlefield. According to the secretly concluded alliance, they will launch an attack from behind the Blood Ring Army, an attack from the north and south with the Swedish rebels. A roaring plaguemonger, waving its deformed black claws, grabbed an expeditionary soldier slowly but quickly. The expeditionary soldier looked like a new recruit. He was scratched and retreated in panic. A spear was stabbed from the side. An old soldier of the expedition buried his head with both hands, tightly grasped the spear, and rushed forward like a bull. For a while, he pushed the plaguemonger back and retreated repeatedly. However, the plaguemonger has the passive ability of a dead body, which increases the armor value. The spear was blocked by the plaguemonger's stiff skin and could only pierce the surface. Another old soldier of the expedition roared and slashed with a knife, leaving blood marks of varying depths on the plaguemonger's body. He roared at the same time, "What are you daydreaming about, rookie?" The injured recruit woke up as if from a dream, gritted his teeth, held the spear horizontally with both hands, stepped forward and stabbed the other shoulder socket of the dead plague. The 2 spears broke through the skin and flesh at the same time, and the movement of the dead plague was greatly restricted. In the end, the old soldier with a knife cut off his head with one knife. When the recruit saw the dead plague falling to the ground, a trace of pride surged in his heart. He was also a veteran now. However, before the 3 people cheered, there was a low bang from the side, and a heavy hammer with barbs came whistling. Half of the recruit's body was smashed, and the blood and flesh were blurred on the barbed heavy hammer, dripping drop by drop. Holding the barbed heavy hammer was a blood ring heavy hammer warrior wearing blood ring heavy armor and fierce eyes. He made a mutter in his throat that seemed to be disdainful and happy, and the barbed heavy hammer whistled out again. The 2 veterans rushed forward. Although their strength was far behind that of the elite blood ring hammermen, they could not escape. Because in this chaotic battlefield, the fastest way to die is to be a coward who leaves his back to the enemy. After 2 or 3 rounds, the blood ring hammerman beat the 2 veterans and made them spit blood and retreat. He smashed one of the veterans' heads with a hammer again. A sword slashed diagonally and hit the side of the hammer, knocking the hammer off. Captain Yinghua. The 2 veterans were overjoyed after surviving the disaster. Yinghua already had a lot of leadership qualities at this time. He nodded calmly, and the blade of his sword was stained with the black blood of the dead plague. "Let's go together and kill this guy." Seeing that the blood ring hammerman's barbed hammer was charging again, Yinghua took a step forward, and under the fierce attack of the iron shield in his left hand, the blood ring hammerman staggered, and then he held out his right sword. The 2 veterans ignored their injuries, one holding a spear and the other wielding a scimitar, and launched a pincer attack on the blood ring heavy hammer from the left and right. Battles like this were happening everywhere on this battlefield, and people died every second. Generals Wei rode on a warhorse, wielding his lance, and each strike pierced through at least one plague killer. Occasionally, when he encountered a blood ring elite soldier, he would wield his lance skillfully, often knocking the opponent's weapon off after a round, and then the lance would reach out like a poisonous dragon, picking up the blood ring elite, throwing it high and injuring it severely. Lance pick and kill. On both wings of General Zweig were his personal guards, each holding a large shield and defending loyally. Behind General Zweig were the elite expeditionary forces of the 1st Legion. With General Zweig as the spearhead, the blood ring monsters rolled to both sides like plowed land. At the same time, there were many leader-level warriors shining brilliantly on the battlefield. They were like reefs in the waves, standing firm despite the wind and rain, constantly smashing the waves that rolled over. Chapter 220. Could it be the Awakened One? My goodness, this expedition leader named Zweig is good at writing and polyarms. He should be above the 7th level. He has so many guards around him, it's not easy to kill him. An awakened person with a blood ring pattern on his chest armor and holding a giant axe murmured. Don't be stupid, Iron Crocodile. There are so many lone elites on the battlefield that can be killed, you have to challenge the leader? His guards alone are enough to make you drink a pot. The teammates next to him shouted to remind him. Iron Crocodile muttered, but Captain Blue Spirit is also a hero profession, we still have a chance, right? The Captain Blue Spirit that Iron Crocodile mentioned is a spellcaster. He has a somewhat ethereal temperament, wearing a silver mask, revealing only a pair of bright eyes. Of course the benefits of killing the leader are very high, more than killing 10 elites of the same level, Lanling said calmly. However, it is too risky to deal with the leader now. I'm not saying that the leader is too strong, but he is protected by at least 10 elite indigenous warriors, and there are enhanced leaders and even lord-level warriors watching behind him. The captain is right. There are at least a dozen awakened teams on the field now, but no one is taking action against the leader. Why? Everyone is making a fortune in silence. Once you intervene in a leader-level battle, you may be besieged by a large number of elites, or even attract the top warriors of the spiritual world to take action, then you're finished. Even if there are forced escape props, the benefits of this war will be reset to zero, Lanling's teammates said. Lanling patted Tai Crocodile and another teammate on the shoulders. Tai Crocodile, Art, don't worry, we have many opportunities to kill the leader, not now. When this war is over, one side will lose, and then we will kill the lone fleeing leader. Tai Crocodile nodded heavily, and suddenly, beside him, there was a blood-ring distorted strongman riding a red fierce horse and holding a 2-meter-long giant heavy sword whizzing by. This blood-ring strongman holding a giant sword was obviously a leader of the same level as Zweig. When he swung the giant sword in his hand, coupled with the speed of the mutant horse, the impact force was terrifying. The entire square formation of the Swedish insurgents on the opposite side was forcibly pierced. Blood, broken bones, and stumps were stuck on the body of this giant sword-distorted strongman. He laughed and grabbed the piece of stump and chewed it. The scene was like a feast for the evil spirits of hell. This seems to be the trusted general under Emperor Gustav, the level 6 leader, General Sven. The Awakener codenamed Art whispered. Too strong, he alone broke through the rebels' phalanx. This strength is probably close to that of a strengthened leader, right? Iron Crocodile was only level 5, and he couldn't help but show a look of shock when he saw this scene. General Sven broke through the first phalanx, and after a short period of accumulating horsepower, he actually raised his giant sword and charged towards the second phalanx of the Swedish rebels. His target was the center of the Swedish rebels and the commander's flag. However, this time, before he could charge, he heard a rhythmic horn sound, and the second phalanx of the rebels actually avoided to both sides like a separated tide, making way for a passage. A tall and strong man wearing golden horn armor and holding a chainsaw sword slowly rode forward. The wind whistled, and his blood-red cloak fluttered. This is the commander of the Swedish uprising army, Dio Fury. It is said that he has the ability to erase the blood ring curse. It was he who caused the rebellion in Stockholm and forced the blood ring emperor to withdraw his troops. Art said. Iron Crocodile blinked. Dio Fury? Why don't I remember such a famous general in Nordic history? Could he be an awakened one? Otherwise, Senior Art, you can use the detector to take a look. How is it possible? An awakened one can erase the blood ring curse. Art smiled and shook his head. The farther the detector is, the worse the effect. It is only useful when it is close. And if I use the detector, I am afraid that it will arouse the hatred of Dio Fury. Such a strong man is very sensitive to the outside world's prying. Let's take a good look. Who is better, him or Sven? Lanling said with a smile. Didn't Senior Art say that Dio Fury can erase the blood ring curse? As long as he erases General Sven's curse, He should be able to get General Sven out of the Blood Ring army. Iron Crocodile said. No, under the Blood Ring Emperor, some strong men are loyal followers. Even without the Blood Ring curse, they will not betray Emperor Gustav. Swain is the Emperor's trusted general, and of course he is also a loyal member. Art said. At this time, the Chainsaw Great Sword Master had already rushed towards the Great Sword General Swain on horseback. Swain also showed a grim smile on his face and rushed forward. Crash! The illusion of the Blood River suddenly surged and enveloped Swain. In an instant, Swain's warhorse's sprint speed slowed down greatly, as if carrying 1,000-pound weight. The Chainsaw Great Sword Master suddenly jumped up from the horse, wrapped in a layer of powerful blood-colored wind, and rushed in front of Swain. Swain slashed in the air, but the attack that was enough to break the monument and split the stone was weakened by the blood-colored wind, and slid away along the armor of the Chainsaw Great Sword Master. With a loud bang, the Chainsaw Sword Master landed on the ground. Under the strong wind, Sven and his horse both floated into the air. The Chainsaw Sword Master swung his sword, and the blade of the chainsaw sword vibrated at high speed, opening a terrible wound on Sven's body, and also brought up a lot of broken armor pieces. After Sven landed, he roared and fought back. His combat expertise has reached the level of Advanced 7. The 2-meter-long giant sword danced like the wind, bringing up one white and heavy blood-red sword arc after another. However, the Chainsaw Sword Master's combat expertise is even stronger. He just made a simple straight stab, and the tip of the chainsaw sword accurately hit the middle wide surface of the giant sword, which was the most difficult to exert force, and then swept it away cleanly. It looked like a pair of sharp scissors, cutting the blood-red sword arc from it, making it no longer exist. The Chainsaw Sword Master's movements were as smooth as flowing water, just like a master's teacher. After breaking Sven's sword, he stepped directly into Sven's inner circle, and the hilt of the chainsaw sword crashed out. General Sven was like being hit by a locomotive, and couldn't help but take a half step back. Such power! Next came a series of ordinary attacks from the Chainsaw Sword Master, blade slashes, low kicks and strong kicks, which slowly reduced Sven's health while continuously expanding Sven's flaws. During this process, Sven kept stumbling back, and there was no way to regain balance and organize an effective counterattack. The Chainsaw Sword Master kicked Sven hard with his last kick, knocking Sven to the ground, and then the chainsaw sword whistled down and directly cut off General Sven's head. Chapter 221. Is this still a human? Wow, this Marshal Foulet is so strong! Iron Crocodile exclaimed. General Sven is also a leader with strength expertise. His strength is close to 80 points, but he was beaten back by Marshal Foulet in a head-on confrontation. I really don't know how strong Marshal Foulet is. It looks like at least 100 points. Art commented, it seems that Marshal Foulet should be a famous Nordic general we don't know about. In real history, he must have made some achievements. However, just after these words were finished, Landling and the other two widened their eyes. Next to the headless body of Blood Ring General Sven, there was a golden treasure chest floating. And the Marshal Foulet reached out and scooped up the golden treasure chest, which disappeared in a blink of an eye, obviously stuffed into the storage space. Did I see it wrong? Art said in disbelief. Can treasure chests be exploded in the civil war among the indigenous people? Could it be that General Sven was attacked by the awakened before he died? No, the indigenous people can't see the treasure chests, and there is no way to pick them up. Iron Crocodile was also confused. This is a fixed mindset. The two of them had a preconceived idea and determined that the Swedish uprising army could not be led by an awakened person. Because the time that an awakened person can stay in the spirit world is limited, from 10 days to a month, how can he be in a high position? For example, it is like an originally unknown Chinese who went to the United States and became a 5-star admiral and commander of the Pacific Fleet in less than a month. It is simply impossible. The reality is in front of us, and we can't help but believe it. Captain Landling sighed. This awakened person is powerful. It is estimated that this Blood Rose War, final chapter, has a lot to do with him. Of course, this should not be the first time he has come to the world of the flesh and blood plague. He has a good foundation laid before. Landling's explanation made the two people slightly more acceptable. However, what they could not accept was the strength of this Diofullery. After Bai Pu killed General Swain, he put away his treasure chest, then pulled out the Spider Demon shield and activated the Devouring Enhancement skill. The Spider Demon pattern on it came alive, opened its mouth wide, and swallowed General Swain's body. Of course, the natives would not see this scene. In their eyes, General Swain's headless body was still lying there, which was the disguise made by the will of the spirit world. When the awakened are teleported to the spirit world, they will obtain a layer of disguise given by the will of the spirit world. This disguise not only helps the awakened to change their appearance and clothing, but also helps the awakened to disguise some behaviors and tools that are easy to expose. For example, when the awakened used the forced separation props to leave in front of the natives, a replica of the awakened body will be left in the original place, so that the natives will not have any suspicion. For example, the awakened's means of attack will also be disguised. If you use eye-catching weapons such as firearms in the heart demon world, they will be disguised as bows and crossbows by the will of the spirit world. There is also the storage and retrieval of storage space. In a world with storage rings and other similar alchemical tools, there is naturally no need for disguise, but in a world without alchemical tools, such as the heart demon world, a reasonable disguise will be carried out so that the natives will not be suspicious. Bai Pu is now level 5, and General Sven is level 6. Bai Pu, despite the level suppression, quickly killed General Sven by only using Jin Fragment Fusion without using other trump cards. His strength has indeed been greatly improved. To be able to do this, the gravity field effect of the professional skill, Blood River Territory, is certainly important, but more important is the passive effect of Tyrant Blow. When trying to knock up or repel the target, you will get a strength bonus, which is currently 25 points. There is also Bai Pu's advanced combat level 4 special effect, Powerful, which provides a 10-point strength judgment bonus, and the additional skill Hard Wrists of Iron Wrist Guards of the Immortal King, which provides another 10-point strength judgment bonus when holding a two-handed weapon with both hands. Bai Pu's current strength is 76 points. When attacking, each blow that produces a knockback or knockback effect is calculated as 121 points of strength. However, the base number of damage is still calculated based on 76 points of strength. As a leader with strength, Sven naturally has a passive skill that increases strength confrontation, but in front of Bai Pu's 121 points of strength judgment value, he still cannot escape the fate of being crushed. Therefore, when Bai Pu's greatsword collides with the opponent, it can easily shake off the opponent's weapon. At the same time, every ordinary attack used for blade padding also makes Sven stagger back. In the end, he gathered small victories into a big victory and cut off Sven's head with a collapse mountain sword skill that infused 70 points of blood and fighting spirit. After devouring General Sven's body, the originally modeled dents and cracks on the Spider Demon Tower shield disappeared, and the surface of the shield was completely renewed. At the same time, devouring enhancement also provides a strength enhancement gain of 10 points of strength. Perhaps because it devoured a whole corpse, the duration of the devouring enhancement was as long as 12 hours. Later, there were elite soldiers of the Blood Ring rushing over, but Bai Pu blocked with one hand holding the shield and knocked on his chest with the other hand. After a burst of invisible fluctuations, this group of elite soldiers of the Blood Ring actually let out a soul-stirring roar, and the Blood Ring curse on their bodies slowly disappeared. The consequence is that the battlefield has become more chaotic. Without the control of the Blood Ring curse, these elite deformers of the Blood Ring became monsters that acted according to instinct, attacking any other human indiscriminately. Some could not find the target, and even did not let go of the Dead Plague. Moreover, each elite soldier of the Blood Ring controlled a small team of Dead Plague. Their rampage caused the Dead Plague to lose the source of command and also became monsters that acted according to instinct. Several monsters pounced on Bai Pu, but Bai Pu saw his right hand wiped at his waist, and took out the ferocious chainsaw sword again. With a light sweep, several monsters were splashed with blood and flew back. Dual-wielding sword and shield, swinging a giant sword with one hand, is this still a human? Art was shocked. He didn't care about attracting Bai Pu's attention. He pressed the front of his ear and activated the detector. Beep! A rectangular transparent lens appeared on Art's right eye, and the edge was flashing with light. He exclaimed, "Fuck, he's only level 5. A level 5 hero can kill a level 6 leader independently." Lanling's eyes shrank. He is an enhanced hero profession. Art said in a hoarse voice. Iron Crocodile was not surprised. He waved his hand and said, "This is nothing. I have seen a level 3 enhanced elite who can kill a level 5 leader level crocodile surrounded by a group of crocodiles. Don't look at me like that, I'm telling the truth. It's this year's college entrance examination champion Steelheart. Hey, Senior Art, Why are you staring at me like that? Chapter 222 Blood Ring Emperor. Art stared at Tiu. Are you sure that Gangsun was only at level 3 of the enhanced elite at that time? Of course, he was only at level 2 at the beginning. Tiu said naturally, many media have reported it. The code name of the awakener in front of us is also called Gangsun. Art said faintly. Tiu's eyes widened. Fuck, Marshal Fule is Gangsun? Impossible, it must be a coincidence. Gangsun is level 3, it is impossible to reach level 5 so quickly. It's possible. Lanling said faintly, enhancing the hero profession should be a job transfer task of SS difficulty. And every time the difficulty level of the task increases, the experience value provided will increase several times. The experience value of the SS difficulty task is equivalent to at least 5 S-level tasks. After hearing Lanling's explanation, Tiu didn't know what to say for a moment. He felt that he had worked very hard. After the college entrance examination, he was not idle throughout the summer vacation. He worked hard to complete tasks and raised his level to enhanced elite level 5. He thought he was qualified to compete with Gangsun, so he talked about him in a more relaxed tone. However, when he really met Steelheart and found that his opponent's strength had changed dramatically, so strong that he couldn't even see his back, Iron Crocodile was shocked and frustrated. It was hard to describe. So much so that Iron Crocodile's attack speed slowed down a lot in the battle. You don't have to envy him. He looks very easy, but the consumption must be high. Killing the Blood Ring leader in such a high-profile way will definitely attract stronger people to attack. Lanling raised his hand and played a poker card, knocking away a dead plague who pounced on Iron Crocodile. Yes, it's Emperor Gustav. He finally took action. Art shouted. The Blood Ring Deformer's army, a gilded chariot roared forward. This gilded chariot was pulled by 4 lions with thick joints and strong bodies. The size of the 4 lions was several times larger than the largest lion in the Earth Zoo, and the triangular eyes were shining with blood. These 4 lions, like the giant wolf with flesh and blood that General Ralph rode, were all mutant beasts. They not only bear the heavy responsibility of pulling the Emperor's chariot, but also serve as a majestic ceremonial guard. Their combat effectiveness should not be underestimated. The chariot ran straight towards Bai Pu. Along the way, there were deformed people whose blood rings were erased. They had no time to dodge and were bitten down by the lions pulling the chariot and swallowed whole. Gustav's personal action did not surprise Bai Pu. The Emperor, known as the Northern Lion, was originally famous for going to the battlefield and fighting on the front line. In particular, Gustav himself was an extremely powerful qualified person, and his strength was only stronger than that of Duke William. Such a strong man would definitely not be in danger of his life unless he was besieged by the army at all costs for a long time. For him, the battlefield was not much different from a garden. Marshal Horn did not come with him. He stayed in the Central Army and commanded the army on behalf of Gustav. The main pressure on the Blood Ring Army now is not the Swedish Uprising Army led by Bai Pu, but the Shinra Expeditionary Army led by Duke William, a joint army formed by hundreds of states. The reason why Emperor Gustav personally took action against Bai Pu was that Sven's death was one reason, but the more important reason was that Bai Pu showed the ability to erase the Blood Ring curse, which is the foundation of the entire Blood Ring Empire and cannot be lost. Bai Pu stared at Gustav and launched the 9 chapters, detection, but in vain. He consumed his mental power and obtained incomplete information about most of the question marks. It's not that Bai Pu's strength is so much worse than Gustav, but there is a big gap between the detection skills of bronze-level relics and the lords. Suddenly, a transparent data frame appeared in front of Bai Pu. Gustav Adolf, level 6 lord, race, humanoid human, occupation, Blood Ring Emperor, attributes, strength 90, agility 60, endurance 130, spirit 40, skill 1, Blood Ring domination, domain skill, use the power of dominating everything to dominate the battlefield. Make all friendly forces in a large range have all their attributes increase to varying degrees, and all enemies have all their attributes decrease to varying degrees, with the increase and decrease ratio being 10% of their own attributes. Skill 2, Majesty of the Great, gain 2000 extra health points and 20 fixed damage reduction. The reduction rate for continuous damage is 33%. Skills 3-8, Blood Ring Banner, Spear Shooting, Exciting Horn, Blood Rage, Fighting Spirit Slash. Such detailed information came from only one source. Kin came quietly at some point. She did not join the battlefield, but quietly appeared on the dome of Linköping Cathedral, and cast soul enlightenment at Gustav from a distance. Then, through the spiritual connection between the source blood apostle and Bai Pu, the information was shared with Bai Pu. This was a silent statement. Although Qin could not fight side by side with Bai Pu to kill Emperor Gustav together, she made her choice in an obscure way, which was to completely break with Gustav. Based on the Lord's powerful perception, Gustav naturally knew that he was being spied on. He looked at the dome of the cathedral from afar, and exchanged glances with Qin, who was wrapped in a black cloak and had a graceful figure. Gustav's eyes were as cold as the glaciers of the North Sea. Qin's eyes were calm, like a deep pool. Neither of them said anything, but it seemed that they had said thousands of words. Gustav raised his hand gently, and the 4 blood-ringed lions pulling the cart stopped immediately. This position is very delicate, just beyond the reach of Bai Pu's Blood River territory, and it is also a position that the fluctuations of the origin heart cannot affect. Gustav is not a fool. After knowing that Bai Pu has the ability to erase the blood ring curse, he naturally will not let the 4 lions enter the fluctuation area of the origin heart. The eyes of the blood ring emperor turned to look at Bai Pu. "You took my daughter away," Gustav said coldly. "Correction, it should be rescue." Bai Pu said calmly, "I don't think there's anything wrong in rescuing an innocent girl from her ambitious father. Especially when her ambitious father treated her like a prisoner and made her live in a dark dungeon." "Shut up. Everything I do is to make Sweden great," Gustav shouted. "As she grows older, the flesh and blood plague in Christina's body becomes stronger and stronger, and even I can't stand the influence. My arrangement is for the stability of the Blood Ring Empire." "It sounds reasonable. But can you explain why your Royal Alchemy Academy doesn't study how to help Christina get rid of the influence of the plague matrix, but is keen on studying various mutated plague viruses? Don't try to lie, because this is your order relayed by the Dean, Mr. Harvey himself." Bai Pu's question made Gustav speechless for a moment. He stared at Bai Pu with hatred and said coldly, "No need to waste time. Kill you, take back my daughter, take back my empire, and everything will be back on track." With a loud bang, a huge blood ring spread out with Emperor Gustav as the center. Chapter 223 Domain Confrontation. Within the range covered by the blood-colored ring pattern, there is awe-inspiring majesty, the whip of the strong, and the cry of the weak. This is exactly the domain skill of Emperor Gustav as a lord, blood ring domination. You should know that the all-attribute enhancement of friendly forces here can include Gustav himself. It just consumes extra fighting energy. The effect is quite amazing, because Gustav is a lord with endurance expertise, and his other attributes, whether strength or agility, are quite strong. Blood ring domination can make Gustav's strength soar to 99 points and his agility to 66 points. What is really scary is endurance, which will climb to 143 points. As a level 6 endurance lord, Gustav's own health conversion ratio is as high as 40, and with 143 points of endurance, this is 5,720 points of health. What's more, there is the Great Emperor's Majesty, a skill based on the World Beacon, which adds another 2,000 points of life, and Gustav's health has reached an astonishing high of 7,720. Not to mention the 20 points of fixed damage reduction. Although the reduction of continuous damage is only 33%, which is about 6.6 fixed damage reduction, the effect of the scorpion-tailed lion's sting, Bai Pu's strongest weapon against the boss, has been greatly weakened. The scorpion-tailed lion's sting ignores defense and can cause 9 points of life loss per second. Toxic damage, but Bai Pu is very self-aware. He can compete with a lord in priority. At least the priority is one level lower than the opponent. Not to mention, within the domain dominated by the blood ring, the attributes of all enemies must be reduced. If there is no effective means of confrontation, Bai Pu's strength will be weakened by 9 points, agility will be weakened by 6 points, endurance will be weakened by 13 points, and spirit will be weakened by 4 points. Bai Pu narrowed his eyes and opened, Blood River territory, at the same time. The mighty phantom of the Blood River rushed and surged. Suddenly, the phantom of the Blood River and the phantom of the Blood Ring collided with each other. Similar skills detected, Blood Ring domination domain. Your professional skills, Blood River territories and priority confrontation. The overall priority of the Blood River territory is 8 points, and the overall priority of the Blood Ring domination domain is 10 points. The results of the confrontation are as follows. In the overlapping range of the two, the effect of the Blood River territory is reduced by 50%, double judgment, and the effect of the blood ring domination domain is reduced by 25%. Bai Pu frowned. The Lord is worthy of being a lord. After Bai Pu changed his job twice and became an enhanced hero, he was still crushed in the priority confrontation. And looking at Emperor Gustave's blood ring domination domain, it is more than twice the diameter of Bai Pu's blood river territory, covering a battlefield with a radius of hundreds of meters. Bai Pu realized that his blood river territory should be the prototype of the domain skill. It is inevitable to be suppressed when encountering the domain skill of the genuine lord. However, this scene was greatly shocked in the eyes of the other awakened people on the scene. It's fake. The awakened one actually has a domain. It should be a domain skill in the prototype state. This means that his template is close to the lord template, which is very strong among the enhanced heroes. How is it possible that a domain skill in the prototype state can confront the domain of a genuine lord? The level is still one level lower. Under the confrontation between the Blood River Phantom and the Blood Ring Phantom, Bai Pu's strength still decreased by 7 points, his agility decreased by 5 points, and other endurance and spirit also decreased to varying degrees. Of course, Emperor Gustave's own gains will also be reduced simultaneously. He will also be sucked of vitality by the Blood River territory to form dark attribute damage, and at the same time he will have to bear a 21-point deceleration effect. Bai Pu also felt that his Blood River Dao Ki consumption has increased. Originally, it consumed a maximum of 2 points of Blood River Dao Ki per second, but now it is 3 points per second. Is this the Lord, so powerful? Bai Pu could only shrink the scope of the Blood River territory to reduce the loss of Blood River Dao Ki, and at the same time, he strode up and fought with Emperor Gustave at close range. With a hum, Emperor Gustave held a heavy shield made of gold in his left hand and slammed it heavily to the ground. At the same time, the broad-bladed longsword in his right hand pointed diagonally at the ground, and he was ready to face Bai Pu. He did not choose to take the initiative to attack, because he also felt the threat of Bai Pu. Under the mighty phantom like a blood river, he felt heavy pressure, as if he was stuck in the mud, and his speed was much slower than usual. Both of them were holding shields, but Gustave's broad-bladed sword was a one-handed weapon, and the chainsaw sword in Bai Pu's right hand was a two-handed weapon with a ferocious shape. So from the scene, Bai Pu was more fierce. Dang! With a muffled sound, Bai Pu's chainsaw sword chopped out. Gustave raised his golden heavy shield to block. Bai Pu's face changed slightly, and he felt that Gustave's golden heavy shield was actually sending a deep and soft force like the sea. Bai Pu's blow fell on the shield, and it was like cutting into a ball of cotton, without any rebound force. This means that Bai Pu cannot use the rebound force to quickly hit the second blow, and the wind-seeking special effect cannot be used. He can only drag the sword back by force. Just as Bai Pu was dragging the sword back, Gustave's heavy golden shield suddenly felt a suction force, like a magnet. The Emperor's expertise in shields was probably at an extremely high level. He did not use the deflection technique to unload the force, but used soft power to offset the rebound force, and at the same time used sticky force to stick to the opponent's weapon. This sticky force was not strong, so Bai Pu still successfully dragged the sword back. However, his attack interval was also forcibly extended by more than double, and his attack did not feel as smooth as usual. Gustave's right-hand broadsword shook and stabbed out. This stab was as fast as lightning. He had just made a stabbing action a second ago, and it hit Bai Pu's chest in an instant. It was so fast that Bai Pu did not have time to block it with his shield. If you want to describe the speed of Gustave's stab, any language is pale. It was like a video with a few frames taken away. The previous frame was still charging, and the next frame had already pierced the enemy's body, taking away the frames where the blade was extended. On the battlefield, many awakened people took a breath of cold air. Although they were fighting, the focus of the battlefield now was the head-on collision between Bai Pu and Gustave, which was a rare scene. Few of these intermediate awakened people had seen the indigenous lord take action. The word lord was like the high sky. Every awakened person could only look up and could not think of any challenge. Almost every team had at least one awakened person who left his back to other teammates to defend and watch the battle. Longshan, who was wearing heavy armor and holding a large shield, couldn't help but think, what would happen if I faced this stab? The answer is that there is no time to block, let alone dodge, and I can only take this stab. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224, Do It or Not? The speed of this attack, I'm afraid his agility has exceeded 100 points, right? Art, one of the Iron Crocodile Trio, said in a lost voice, Emperor Gustav is a lord with a specialty in endurance. Emperor Gustav's own agility is as high as 60 points. Within the domain, his theoretical agility can reach 66 points. It seems that part of the bonus is offset by the Steel Heart's domain, but Emperor Gustav's combat expertise must be advanced to level 8 or above, so he has such a speed comparable to 100 points of agility. Lan Ling, one of the Iron Crocodile Trio, analyzed, but his actual attack speed is still more than 60 points. It is impossible to reach more than 100 points. From the perspective of the game, his pre-attack swing is extremely short, but his after swing is relatively long. The Awakened put themselves in Bai Pu's position and shook their heads. Can't beat, can't stop, can't run away. The onlookers felt such a strong pressure, and Bai Pu, who was facing head-on, naturally felt it more deeply. The theoretical damage caused by Gustav's sword was as high as 1,226 points, critical hit, which was higher than that of the Blood Mist Butcher. You have to know that this emperor already has 90 points of strength, and with a bonus of the Blood Ring's domain, it is close to the 100-point mark. The broadsword in his hand is mottled with blood, revealing a sense of historical vicissitudes. It is obviously not an ordinary weapon, and has a very strong armor-piercing effect. In addition, the damage bonus of the advanced level 8 combat expertise is 115%, the damage bonus of the fighting spirit output, and the 10% damage increase of the level suppression. If it were an ordinary level 5 non-tank awakener, even an elite, this sword would not kill him instantly, but would leave him in a severely disabled state. Bai Pu's chest armor value is now as high as 100 points. Even with the armor penetration of the broadsword, he can still have an armor value of 70 to 80 points. Facing a level 6 lord, he can still reduce his damage by more than 50%. At the same time, he also has Heretic Skin, for 50% damage reduction against sharp damage, and the upper body reinforcement +4 for 12% damage reduction. After layers of damage reduction, the actual damage of this sword is 255 points. The damage was not low, but for Bai Pu's current upper limit of 2,650 health points, it was within an acceptable range. As long as he was careful and didn't get hit by a series of critical hits, he could still hold on for a while. After Gustav stabbed out the first sword, Bai Pu's body shook slightly and he staggered a little. Gustav followed with a step forward, and the heavy golden shield rushed over like a high wall. Bai Pu was hit and staggered again. Immediately afterwards, Gustav kicked lightly, continuing to expand the flaw on Bai Pu's body, and then aimed the broad-bladed sword at Bai Pu's neck and slashed it diagonally. Bai Pu was almost cut on the neck. He suddenly turned sideways, and the sword cut on the side of his shoulder. There was no critical hit, but the flesh on Bai Pu's shoulder was also cut, and blood was oozing out. What a smooth attack. It seems that my current strength is still not enough to fight against a lord of a higher level. However, my biggest advantage is not a single fight. Bai Pu took a breath, endured the pain in his shoulder, and with the help of the power of this sword, he suddenly rolled to the side. Immediately afterwards, Bai Pu activated the sprint special effect on the rhinoceros leather boots, and his speed increased suddenly. Instead of retreating, he rushed towards the chariot behind Gustav and the blood-ring deformers behind the chariot. It looked very strange. Bai Pu was obviously injured and should have returned to the Swedish rebel army and relied on the strength of the lower-level soldiers to besiege Gustav. But he didn't do so. Instead, he rushed straight to the blood-ring army. Gustav's speed was reduced by the Blood River territory, and he couldn't catch up with Bai Pu in the first time. He watched Bai Pu pass by the lions. Boom, boom, boom. It was as if the drumbeats of liberation sounded, and the fluctuations of the origin heart spread out. When passing by those fierce lions, the blood ring curse on the opponent's body dissipated inch by inch. Several lions broke away from Gustav's control and regained their violent nature. They immediately dragged the golden chariot around and soon broke free from their restraints and rushed into the battlefield. With the obstruction of these deformed lions, Gustav's time to catch up with Bai Pu was extended again. Bai Pu temporarily closed the Blood River territory to save the loss of blood fighting spirit. He jumped high, launched the wind slash, and pounced on the Blood Ring Deformer's army, where the strong were most concentrated. Insolent, Gustave roared, but he could not stop Bai Pu. Bai Pu's heart beat violently, and the powerful influence of the origin heart spread rapidly. The blood ring curse marks on the eyebrows of the surrounding blood ring deformers quickly faded. These out-of-control blood ring elites quickly fell into chaos. Except for a small number of blood ring guards who were completely loyal to Gustave and still obeyed the orders of Gustave and Marshal Horn. Without the blood ring curse, most of the other blood ring elites became beasts that acted only on instinct. They rushed around the scene, not distinguishing between friend and foe, and launched a bloody attack. However, no deformed person dared to attack Bai Pu. In Bai Pu, these deformed monsters felt an awe-inspiring power. Their remaining instincts drove them away from Bai Pu. If Bai Pu's original heart lost control, he would quickly transform into the mother of the blood and flesh plague like Princess Christina, expanding the coverage endlessly and turning all living beings in close range into deformed monsters, and the already deformed monsters would be deeply deformed. Moreover, Bai Pu's threat was greater than that of Princess Christina. The original heart in his body was composed of 2 pieces. However, because of the successful job transfer, the power of the original heart was completely bound in Bai Pu's body. Only when Bai Pu took the initiative to trigger it could it leak out a trace of influence. Therefore, Bai Pu did not become a terrible mother like Princess Christina. Kill him at all costs. Marshal Horn roared and issued an order. All awakened people in the Blood Ring camp received reminders of side quests. Side quest: kill the Plague Matrix. Quest objective: kill the Swedish Uprising Commander Dio Fury. Quest difficulty: A. Quest deadline: 30 minutes. Quest reward: 10,000 Blood Ring faction merit. Floating reward: based on the time it takes you to kill the target. Failure penalty: none. In the Blood Ring faction, several awakened teams looked at each other. How do we kill him? Steelheart should have a forced escape item. If he escapes from this world when he sees that the situation is not good, won't our mission fail? Art said, do we have to use bloody items? I just checked, and the will of the spirit world states that even if Steelheart escapes from this world, it will still be considered Steelheart's death in the eyes of the natives. It counts as completing our mission. Lanling said. What should we do? Should we do it? Chapter 225, The Jianghu is a world of human relationships. No. Lanling shook her head. That's 10,000 military merits. Enough to buy a Viscount title, and this comes with a fiefdom. Art obviously knew something about it. You're talking about the military merits that can only be obtained by killing Steelheart at the fastest speed, and you can't share it with others, you have to complete it one-on-one. Do you think it's possible in this battlefield environment? Lanling pointed to the chaotic battlefield. Wherever Bai Pu went, the Blood Ring Deformers, which were originally in a strict formation and like a bloody torrent, exploded like a drop of water poured into a hot oil pan. The Blood Ring Deformers, whose curses were erased, followed their instincts and ran around frantically, biting. In this situation, even Gustave had to work hard to catch up with Bai Pu. This powerful Blood Ring Emperor, without his golden chariot, was like a traveler trapped in a muddy swamp. From time to time, he waved his sword or held up his shield to slap away a deformer who was in the way, and his speed inevitably slowed down. Under this situation, Lanling felt that it was difficult to complete the task of killing Bai Pu quickly. There were other awakened people who had the same idea. This is a ruthless person who can fight with a lord. Long Xiong sighed. In terms of survivability, Gangxin didn't even go to the brink of death after taking a set of attacks from the lord. In terms of attack power, he can quickly kill a level 6 leader. Such a pervert should be thrown into the battlefield of the spirit world to hurt each other with a group of equally perverted chosen ones. Killin fell into a state of autism as early as after detecting that the true identity of Marshal Fule was Bai Pu. He didn't expect that the younger generation of the genius camp would grow so fast. Hearing Long Xuang's sigh, Killin's mouth twitched. I'm beginning to regret choosing the Blood Ring camp. Senior Long Xiang, it should be in time for us to change camps now, right? After Marshal Horn issued this side quest with a lot of rewards, few awakened people dared to respond. Of course, there are quite a few Blood Ring warriors who are loyal to Gustave. Under the order of General Horn, several Blood Ring generals accepted the order to kill Bai Pu at all costs. They chased and intercepted Bai Pu from all over the battlefield. These Blood Ring generals are all trusted generals who are completely loyal to Emperor Gustav. Even without the Blood Ring curse, they will not change their determination. At the same time, these Blood Ring generals also brought their most loyal guards, including elites and enhanced elites. They also do not rely on the Blood Ring curse, and will guarantee their loyalty. Such guards are few in number, but they are the only response that the Blood Ring army can make when facing Bai Pu, who naturally restrains them. Bai Pu has retracted the shield in his hand. He waved the chainsaw sword with both hands, chopped off a Blood Ring heavy cavalryman, took his warhorse, and continued to rush forward. The beating of the original heart continued, and the Blood Ring troops that rushed up along the way rolled back at a faster speed than when they came. It looked like Bai Pu was an angry whale, and wherever he passed, the sea tides broke and rolled back. Soon, the first Blood Ring general and one of his loyal guards met Bai Pu, trying to stop his advance and buy time for Emperor Gustav. But Bai Pu directly used wind slash on his horse. The reason was that Bai Pu was not good at horse fighting and his riding skills were not high. In the wind slash state, Bai Pu landed and shook the Blood Ring general and his guards into the air. He held the sword with both hands, turned his body half a circle, and slashed the Blood Ring general away with a single blow. At the same time, the wind-seeking special effect was activated, and a huge wound was cut open on the chest and abdomen of the guard. Blood flowed everywhere, and he fell to the ground seriously injured. Bai Pu had no time to make up for it. He grabbed the Blood Ring general's horse and continued to gallop to the south. He was about to break through the Blood Ring's square formation and join the Shinra Expeditionary Force. Suddenly, a nice blue arrow shot from the side and rear of Bai Pu. Bai Pu was in the advanced 8th level two-handed sword state at this time. He did not look back and flicked his hand back, and the ice blue arrow fell to the ground with a clang. However, the ice blue color spread along Bai Pu's chainsaw sword and quickly formed a layer of ice flowers on his body. Even the warhorse was frozen. This was surprisingly a powerful control skill. Awakener Lanfeng attacked you. You, and your mount, were frozen by the frost flower arrow, and the imprisonment time was 1.5 seconds, 2.5 seconds has been resisted. In the distance, a female archer wearing hunting clothes and with a stern face, drew her bow and arrows, and shot arrows one after another with the ice blue bow. Obviously, this female archer was the awakened one of the Blood Ring, Lanfeng. Lanfeng of Jianmen University. A shooter of the hero profession, no wonder she dared to shoot. And awakened saw the iconic ice blue bow. When the out-of-control deformers were rampaging, only these long-range attackers dared to attack. They would not be besieged by the out-of-control deformers near Bai Pu. 2 arrows landed on Bai Pu, and Lanfeng suddenly opened his eyes wide. 34. Critical hit, 38. Critical hit, Lanfeng missed 2 things. First, Bai Pu was very strong. The suppression of the template greatly reduced the freezing time of the frost flower arrow. The short duration of 1.5 seconds was only enough for Lanfeng to shoot 2 ordinary arrows. Second, both arrows hit critical hits, but based on Bai Pu's strong damage reduction ability, the 2 critical hits combined only knocked off 72 points of Bai Pu's health. Counting the ice attribute damage of the frost flower arrow before, the total damage value was just over 100 points. After Bai Pu broke free from the freezing effect of the frost flower arrow, he immediately aimed at Lanfeng and threw the chainsaw sword. Spinning throw. The bloody river fighting spirit whistled out with a chainsaw sword, and 2 dead plague victims along the way were unable to dodge and were smoothly cut into 4 pieces. The chainsaw sword brought up 2 broken limbs, and with a full bloody murderous aura, it rushed straight towards Lanfeng. Lanfeng immediately used her skills and jumped back high, trying to escape the range of the chainsaw sword. However, before her figure jumped to the highest point, she was stopped by a transparent ancient seal of the word ban, and the whole person was imprisoned in place. Although the imprisonment time was very short, the subsequent attacks followed one after another. A figure wearing a fiery red leather armor rushed behind Lanfeng at high speed, and 2 one-handed weapons, one long and one short, cut horizontally and vertically. These 2 people are exactly 2 members of the Longshan team. The word Spirit Master Qilin, the agile assassin Feng Xiang. Lanfeng's pupils suddenly turned into needles, like 2 tiny ice spikes. A layer of frost suddenly condensed on Feng Xiang's body, and her speed inevitably decreased. Then Lanfeng's feet flashed, activating the acceleration skill of his shoes to escape. Shaking his hand and throwing another scroll, 2 ghost wolves appeared in a roar, biting and nibbling at Feng Xiang. White light flashed, and the heavily armored Longshan launched a rescue and blocked Feng Xiang. "You are also in the Blood Ring camp, and you actually..." Lam Feng shouted angrily. The Jianghu is not about fighting and killing, but about human relationships and worldly affairs. Longshan's sword and shield tapped lightly, and he said with a smile, "My junior happens to know Gangsun, the commander of the Swedish uprising army. It's too easy for us to change camps, just go to Gangsun directly, this is our pledge of allegiance." Lam Feng snorted angrily, and after pulling away, she still drew her bow to fight back. However, her face suddenly changed, and when she looked up, Bai Pu had already ridden his horse and waved his sword, rushing over like an angry dragon. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.